we've had a great week of practice. I love how this team has responded.
All right, Bruce, off we go from East Lansing. The question was, how would they handle Barkley in the kick game? Here they use the wind to bury it out of the back of the end zone. And the Nittany Lions just start at the 25-yard line. And you give a lot of credit to Saquon Barkley, rightfully so. But you ask the Michigan State staff what makes this offense go. They talk about the quarterback, Trace McSorley.
He's really the key component to this offense in my mind, and it's because he's gutsy. He's the leader of this football team. He makes plays. He's tough. He's physical. He's not the biggest guy. He's the second leading rusher on the team, and he is a launcher, Joe. He's not a thrower, meaning when he drops back to pass, he's looking for the deep ball and the big play.
This Penn State offense, number 2 in the Big Ten, averaging 40 points per game. They throw incomplete on first down behind Juwan Johnson, and it's 2nd and 10. Trace McSorley, a junior from Ashburn, Virginia. James Franklin thought he had, after that team meeting Sunday, his best week of preparation heading into this one. A fake to Barkley. Back-to-back throws. And this one is caught. Going up the ladder to get it is Mike Gesicki, the tight end, for a first down to the 41. What a season this kid's having.
He's a big, tall target. He's got that volleyball background. And what makes him special is how he goes up and high points the football, yet he still has the body control to get a foot inbounds for the catch. Yeah. Rare you see a guy who's 6'6", that sort of ability.
I was wondering if we're going to get a whistle.
Placed under further review.
And we will just before that ball was snapped. And what the key is going to be here, Brady, is I think that was a toe-to-heel situation. Got to have the whole thing come down inbounds. What do you think?
He gets the toe, that's for sure, but definitely not the heel. As he starts to gain control or possession of the football as he goes out of bounds. That's the problem when you're 6'6", your feet are too big.
Cost him here. And the call on the field is that this is a catch. But they will throw it up to this Big Ten replay crew.
Looks like Mark D'Antonio clearly thinks he's out. You can see him waving in the background. One interesting thing of note, because if you look at the first 2 plays of this game thus far, Josh Butler was targeted on the very first play. He's replacing Justin Lane at the cornerback position. Typically Lane's the starter as we wait for the call.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. First down.
All right, so because the call on the field was a catch, they didn't think they had enough there in replay to overturn it.
It looked like there might have been enough, but clearly the angle wasn't good enough to give the officials enough confidence in overturning that call. But Josh Butler, number 19, he's in for Justin Lane. They've targeted him twice now, the last 2 plays.
He's the corner to the bottom of the screen here defending Juwan Johnson. McSorley shovels it across his body to Saquon Barkley, who's tackled by Joe Bacci on a gain of 4, 2nd and 6.
One of the reasons why the Penn State offense is so effective is unique ways offensive coordinator Joe Moorhead finds ways of getting Saquon Barkley the football. All of a sudden you think Trace McSorley's keeping the ball out on the edge. Meanwhile, he pitches it back inside of Barkley for a positive gain.
On 2nd down, they fake to Barkley, and it's knocked down at the line of scrimmage as he was again looking for Gesicki. And part of the reason they've had to do that, getting the ball to Barkley out of the backfield, is teams have focused so much on taking him out of the run game, they've had to be more creative.
Talked about that in the open. Typically, a team's going to load up the box to stop the run. And that's definitely the MO of this Michigan State defense. Now with one-on-one coverage on the outside, expect the ball to go to Deshaun Hamilton, number 5.
Opening drive for the Nittany Lions, and out of an empty set on 3rd down, McSorley hits Barkley, crossing the field for a first down into Michigan State territory. Willis and Dow with a tackle, but Barkley converts.
Anytime they can get Saquon Barkley touches, you're going to see him run across the field, a little shallow cross. they're going to find a way of getting the ball in his hands. He's so explosive. He's such a good catcher out of the backfield. He could play wide receiver for this team if they wanted to.
This is his first run of the day, and it's shut down by Naquan Jones, part of this strong defensive front for the Spartans.
A defensive front that hasn't allowed a 100-yard rusher this season.
Here it is, one of the nation's top run defenses. And last year, as we touched on off of the top, they held Barkley to 14 yards on the ground, but still got rolled 45-12 in that game because McSorley had a field day. 376 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air. Throws too tall, missing a wide open DeAndre Tompkins, and it's 3rd and 11.
This is those 3rd and long scenarios where the Michigan State defense likes to bring in somewhat of a NASCAR package. Bring in a little bit smaller sized edge rushers. The guy they really like is Brandon Randall, number 26. Hasn't really gotten off to a hot start yet this season, but he's a guy to keep your eye on.
This is a spot where Penn State struggled against Ohio State, protecting in these situations. Only a 3-man rush, still able to flush him off his spot. It's tipped and intercepted. Once again, pressure applied to McSorley. Joe Bocci, the beneficiary, with the interception.
Tips and overthrows. That's what defenses feast on. Michigan State is able to get enough pressure on McSorley to force him out of the pocket. That's typically when quarterbacks are the least accurate. There's the leader of the defense, Joe Bocci, able to haul in his 2nd interception of the season.
And so the Spartans take over for the first time at their own 27-yard line. One of the nation's youngest teams. They've been a big surprise sitting at 6-2. 4-1 in the Big Ten, still in control of their own destiny in the East. Lewerke scans the field and has Felton Davis III. He was part of a big day for Lewerke in the loss at Northwestern. School record 445 through the air, and he said he gained a ton of confidence going back and watching that on film.
Well, he had to. He was a big reason why they led that 2-minute drive that got them into overtime. But he's got that quick release. He's a willing runner, a little bit different than what we've seen from Michigan State quarterbacks in the past. And he's fast through his progressions, processes things very quickly.
And that is movement from the left side, Cole Chewins. Michigan State penalized 9 times in the triple overtime loss at Northwestern.
False start. Offense, number 61. 5-yard penalty. And then 2nd down.
Call for the first time today. It's Mark D'Antonio, their head coach. In his 11th season. And he told us yesterday the goal is always to go into November with a chance to play for a championship. And even with the loss last week, Michigan State has that. On 2nd down, pressure coming. Lewerke trying to scramble away from Koa Farmer. Turns the shoulders and throws incomplete. Intended receiver was Darrell Stewart, and it's 3rd down and 11.
Penn State is so good at holding their water, and then they bring a pressure right at the snap of the football. Lewerke sees it. No one's accounting for him in the pass protection, so he's got to make a play with his legs. He's almost able to find Stewart downfield, but not enough. Now 3rd and long. Typically the snare, they like to try to work to Stewart. They like to try to get Felton Davis isolated in a one-on-one scenario.
Davis to the bottom of the screen, defended by Christian Campbell. Pressure comes out of the secondary, and it's L.J. Scott hurdling his way for a Michigan State first down. They really want to get L.J. Scott going, a guy who early in his career looked like a star.
Watch the free release out of the backfield, and the Penn State defense drops him. That should be Koa Farmer. As they try to adjust, we've seen Saquon Barkley jump over some people so far this year. L.J. Scott says, yeah, I can do that too.
And you mentioned the comparison to Barkley. 2 years ago, both these guys were freshmen breaking onto the scene, and there wasn't a ton of separation between them. But Scott has struggled this year. A big part of the reason has been holding on to the football. His first carry goes for 3 or 4. He fumbled last week. He's lost 7 fumbles in the last 17 games now. There's a flag down on this play.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, offense number 94. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. The down counts, second down. This is his first unsportsmanlike conduct penalty of the game.
See him right there. This is one of the things that's been an emphasis only the past couple seasons. The extracurriculars that happen after the whistle was blown. Guys are on top of piles. Not trying to do too much after the play.
So instead of a 2nd and 6, 2nd and 21, and you can hear on some of our field microphones the rain starting to fall. Only a 4-man rush this time. Out of the backfield again, L.J. Scott. White shirt spotted quickly, able to slip his way for 2. But Grant Haley holds on, and it's 3rd and a mile for the Spartans.
We're talking about L.J. Scott a minute ago with some of his struggles holding on to the football. As the rain comes down, that's not going to make it any easier for a team that's really battled that the entire season. It's almost gotten to the point where it's not just a physical thing, it's a mental thing. You know, they've overcoached it at times. Other times they've tried not to really acknowledge it. And they really feel like it's affected the way L.J. Scott has run the football, because now, instead of being as a physical runner that he is, he's so conscious of ball security that he's not running the same way.
And this week, you're facing a team that is as good as any in the country at forcing turnovers in Penn State. Lewerke into a tight window for a first down. They needed 19 and got 20 to the true freshman, Cody White.
He's really stepped up as the year has gone on. There he is right there at the top of your screen, number 7, Cody White. And he finds the soft spot in the zone coverage. You can see him settle down. He knows exactly where his quarterback is looking for, right around the sticks. That was the biggest key, being able to get just enough so when he did get tackled, he didn't have to worry about losing any yardage.
Set a Michigan State freshman record with that performance last week at Northwestern. 165 yards on 9 catches. From the 49, here's L.J. Scott. Room off the right side, spinning his way to the 45 on a gain of 6. This Michigan State offense only better than Rutgers and Illinois in the Big Ten when you're looking at points output. A big part of the reason they've struggled is this ground game, which they expected to be a strength coming in. It really hasn't been. Went to the ground on first down. Back to it again here. And L.J. Scott unable to get going. It's a short gain, and it's 3rd down. It's a young offensive line they're running behind. 2 freshmen, 2 other guys that are in their first years as full-time starters. Really, it's just Brian Allen at center who has any kind of considerable experience.
He's been the leader up front, done a tremendous job for this young group in communicating all the calls, passing it down the line, making sure they understand their assignments. You don't see a ton of MEs or mental errors from this offensive line group at Michigan State.
Spartans have converted a couple of 3rd downs on this drive. Here's 3rd and 2. Cole Farmer on the blitz. Into the vacated area goes Cody White, but it's knocked out of there by Troy Apke. They had exactly what they wanted, throwing this slant to White, but Apke knocked it out.
They bring the pressure, so you see what comes in behind, a little quick slant route to the true freshman in Cody White. But Troy Apke with the experience, he knows exactly how to time up that hit and get his hand in on the football to disrupt the conversion.
Apke had maybe his best game last week in the loss against Ohio State. Career high 8 tackles. DeAndre Tompkins back to return this punt. Fair catch taken inside the 10. And the Penn State offense back to the field with Saquon Barkley on the other side of this break in a top 25 matchup from East Lansing. Our Go RVing sights and sounds from East Lansing this morning. The tailgaters are out here early with this noon local start. It feels like Big Ten weather, doesn't it? These low 40s temperatures. Could do without the rain.
Yeah, especially when it gets down like this. You'd almost rather got a little bit colder so it became snow and not rain.
Penn State backed up to its own 8, beginning its second drive of the day. McSorley in that run pass option delivers a strike to Deshaun Hamilton for a first down across the 20.
When you talk about RPOs, run pass options, it always puts a defender in a run pass conflict, meaning he's got to play the run but also the pass. And that player for a good portion of the day is going to be number 5, Andrew Dowell.
First down from the 23. Here's Barkley trying to get room outside, and he's cut down by Justin Lane. Converted wide receiver, good size at the cornerback spot.
Yeah, probably the guy that matches up best with some of the bigger targets on the outside for Penn State. Lane 6'3", 180 pounds. The most impressive thing about that last play is he was a wide receiver converted to cornerback. Not many quarterbacks want to try to tackle Saquon Barkley, especially guys who previously caught the football.
Gain of 1, 2nd and 9. Spartans rushing only 4. McSorley steps into a strong throw to the sideline for Tompkins and a first down. DeAndre Tompkins had his first touchdown of the season last week in acrobatic fashion, and he's got a catch here to move the chains.
He's just going to run a little simple out route, and there's going to be a timing element of it. But one of the things that impresses you the most about Trace McSorley is his ability at 6 foot, 195 pounds. He really drives the football. He's got a pretty strong arm.
Tucks it and takes off, getting a short gain. He can run. He's their second leading rusher, more than 300 yards on the ground this season, and led the team last week in the 39-38 loss in Columbus.
Well, it's not often you see a running back go to Wildcat and the quarterback stays right next to him in the running back position. They do that at Penn State from time to time.
They go, ready to snap it to Barkley. And Barkley throws it for a first down to Gesicki. How about that design from Joe Moorhead and the Nittany Lions for a first down?
What can Barkley not do? Watch the shift. And that's the Wildcat we're talking about. Trace McSorley, he's a legitimate run threat, but then it's a little pop pass to Gesicki. So many things you're concerned with and have to worry about with Penn State.
Now back to the play action game, and Tompkins with another reception. That's a Penn State first down. We've mentioned Joe Moorhead a couple of times in his second season as the O coordinator after 4 years as the head coach at Fordham, but a very revolutionary offensive mind when it seems like you'd think that everybody's figured everything out, right? There's only so much you can do. He keeps coming up with new wrinkles to add in. State on the move on a drive that started inside its own 10. With nobody at the second level, McSorley looks over the top and delivers a strike for Hamilton. He turns the corner for a touchdown. Just like that, the Nittany Lions march at 92 yards to open the scoring.
The thing you got to love about it, as a former quarterback, his progression. He was patient. He saw it coming the whole time. It's going to be a little in route across the field. And McSorley, as he drops back, he just waits for that window to open, steps up the pocket, and delivers a perfect strike.
So Deshaun Hamilton, who has more catches than anybody in Penn State history, adds one here and gets in his 6th touchdown of the season. Tyler Davis, who has never missed an extra point, adds another here. Trace McSorley now tied for the program record. Christian Hackenberg, previously the record holder. 48 career touchdowns for the junior, and Penn State with a first quarter lead. Fox College Football is sponsored by Volkswagen. Why settle for an SUV when you can have an SUVW? And by Allstate, official protector of college football fans. Now, it looked like the ball might have been coming loose near the end of this run from Deshaun Hamilton, and in fact it was jarred out of there, but it looks like, Brady, he regained possession before stepping out of bounds, which would have made it a touchback had he not.
Yeah, I think the tough thing would have been, look, it was called a touchdown on the field. We already saw a close one earlier in the game. It would be pretty tough to overturn that based on the call on the field.
Tyler Davis to kick it for the first time. This is Connor Hayward, freshman, bringing it out from the 5, and with some room off the right side, he's out to the 30. Lowering the shoulder on the kicker, Davis. There's a flag that flies in at the end of the play. I've seen a bunch of these already.
Talk about capitalizing the end of a run.
Personal foul, late hit out of bounds. Number 6 of the kicking team. 15-yard penalty added from the end of the run. First down.
And so the Spartans will be set up well at the 45-yard line. And his late hit after Connor Hayward lowers the shoulder. Back to East Lansing in a moment. Aerial coverage of today's game being brought to you by our good neighbors at State Farm. State Farm is here to help life go right. Back in East Lansing, Michigan. 7th-ranked Penn State, the reigning Big Ten champions, trying to bounce back from their first regular season loss in more than a year. Heartbreaking fashion in Columbus last week. And the Spartans, meanwhile, pleasant surprise around here with a 6-2 start and still in control of their own destiny when it comes to the Big Ten East race. Lewerke down the seam has Stewart for a first down into Penn State territory on a gain of 16.
Whenever you play split safety coverage, that's going to be the area of the field you got to attack in the passing game. And Brian Lewerke has really found something after a record-setting performance last week on the road.
Back to throw again, down the seam again. This time Felton Davis inside the 20.
Penn State runs those split safety coverages. I mean, typically you have 2 guys back, but they do it in a variety of ways. Sometimes it'll be 2 safeties. Sometimes it's a cornerback, and he'll be playing the deep half of the field, and the safety will play what's called a swipe coverage, meaning they switch responsibilities.
That was one of the areas that J.T. Barrett attacked last week, 33 of 39 against his Penn State defense. They bring some pressure here. Lewerke scanning the field, throws it into one-on-one, incomplete, flag flies. White, the intended receiver, and got hung up with Grant Haley. If they do, in fact, enforce this, it'll make it first down and goal for Michigan State.
Defense number 15. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
Well, Brian Lewerke wanted to work for his red zone target, Felton Davis. So if you watch his eyes, he's going to look first to the right. And once he realizes he doesn't have him because he's got safety help from Marcus Allen, number 2, he goes back to the left. And you see him kind of just basically throw it up to Cody White. There's a little tugging and shoving going on both ways there. But again, it was all because of the initial plan breaking down and not having Davis.
Brady, this was a spot last year where Michigan State couldn't figure it out against Penn State. 0 for 4 in red zone trips trying to get into the end zone. This time they toss it. L.J. Scott, stiff arms, in trouble with a flag down and toppled at the 3. Penalty flags all over the place.
Michigan State offense has struggled to find that this year. Ranked 100th in the country in scoring in the red zone.
This is already going to be the 3rd penalty on the Spartans.
Holding. Offense, number 70. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
Tyler Higbee.
Right there. Let's keep an eye. He's working on number 30. He climbs up to Apke. Clearly you can see him kind of hook his arm. But not much there anyway. Penn State really doing a good job of setting that edge, not letting L.J. Scott get to the outside.
We've mentioned a couple of times last year's game between these teams, and the Penn State ran away with it 45-12. Michigan State led at halftime 12-0 on 4 field goals, having settled for field goals every time they entered the red zone. So they'll redo first and goal from the 12 and fake it to Scott. They'll throw it back to him. End zone, touchdown! Beautiful design, and the Spartans answer back. Although there is a flag down at the goal line.
Well, Kevin Jarvis, the true freshman who's playing right guard today, was downfield. It looked like he was past that 3-yard barrier downfield. I would imagine that's what the officials are talking about right now.
Ineligible receiver downfield. Offense number 75. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat, first down.
That's a true freshman, Kevin Jarvis, and it's getting worse.
You see him right here, and watch once he rolls out and he throws back. Watch Jarvis just continue to work downfield. Kind of loses his place. He's working on Marcus Allen, the safety, and he's got LJ Scott in coverage. So that's what makes it even more egregious, because Allen's saying, hey, I'm trying to cover this guy. This guy's still blocking. We're 6 yards downfield.
And to draw some attention to it when it's the guy responsible to cover the touchdown score. Lewerke back to throw. It's the crosser. Davis able to run away from Farmer and get inside the 10. Second down and goal as Felton Davis has had a nice start to this one.
Don't be shocked if they don't come back of trying to find a way to target Felton Davis. He's 6'4", 195 pounds. He's very good at high pointing the football. Sometimes they'll just throw it up to him. But of the 6 red zone completions, that's his 7th now on the season. 6 of them have been touchdowns so far this year.
How about that catch he made to tie the game in the 4th quarter last week?
It's on a sluggo concept, a little slant and go. It's at the top of your screen.
With a size advantage he has against just about everybody. Lewerke goes the other way. Stewart goes up to catch it. Touchdown, Michigan State. Overcoming a litany of mistakes on this drive.
It's a simple corner route. He's just going to run to the corner of the end zone. Lewerke gives him an opportunity where once he beats Apke in coverage, he can go high point the football and make a great catch. You talked about Felton Davis and the ridiculous catch last week. Darrell Stewart having a couple as well to help them maintain some of those long drives.
Extra point coming from Matt Coghlin in Michigan State. Wasting no time responding to tie this game. Darrell Stewart from Brian Lewerke. This kid can play. 8 of 10 so far through the air and tied up in the 1st quarter. Fox College Football is sponsored by State Farm. Here to help life go right. Back in East Lansing, mid-40s today. Chance of rain, but it's holding off for now. They're tied at 7 late in this 1st quarter. Michigan State able to get in the end zone, and it feels like a really big deal that they did. That could have been a momentum squasher with all the penalties they had once they moved inside the 5.
I was curious to see how both teams would respond after losses. Michigan State's already suffered a loss this year, and I think we saw them kind of get back on track offensively and defensively after the early loss to Notre Dame. But Penn State, after the first loss, we'll see how they respond here.
Barkley, as it bounced off his hands, and Michigan State dodges a bullet that he doesn't get an opportunity to bring that one out. Time now for Craveable Moments, sponsored by Dr. Pepper. Here's Bruce Feldman.
One of the cool traditions down here for Michigan State is the phalanx formation. You see the interlocking that they do with the players when they come out. It started about a decade ago when Mark D'Antonio's first year. He asked longtime strength coach Ken Manny to speak to the team. He's quite a history buff, as I found out yesterday, and he talked about the ancient Spartan formation that he said is all about unity, and he said the team has really bought in. It also helped that back then the movie The 300 had just come out and the players were all the rage about it, and it's really caught on here.
All right, Bruce, first down for Penn State. Here's Gesicki with some room, and Gesicki lowers the shoulder close to a first down. Yesterday, Bruce said that he's going to go check with the strength coach on what year that started, and an hour later he came out with a whole lot more than that. McSorley on the last Penn State drive. That's Christian Hackenberg for the most touchdown passes in Penn State history. It's an injured Michigan State player. It's Mike Panashuk, one of those tone setters up front on a very strong defensive line.
He's a big reason why linebackers Joe Bacci, Chris Fry, Andrew Dowd, he's one of the reasons why they can roam around free and run unblocked and make tackles in the running game.
So Panashuk helped to his feet. Michigan State staff thought that they got tired in triple overtime last week, and you don't blame them getting that deep into the game, but they hadn't rotated as frequently as usual. They plan to go a little bit deeper in the rotation today to avoid hitting one of those situations again.
And offensively, they didn't think they ran the football enough in that game, kind of got away from it, kind of had to, but it also allows your defense to face less plays and get a little bit more rest too.
9 yards on first down, so 2nd and 1. Barkley sticks the nose down and gets close to the marker. Saquon Barkley, junior from Copley, Pennsylvania, on his way to becoming the 3rd player in Penn State history with 3 1,000-yard seasons. He was a Big Ten Freshman of the Year in 2015. Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year last year, ran for more than 1,500. One of the Heisman frontrunners here as a junior. On first down from the 35, they punt short and now throw short. Hamilton already with a touchdown. Now with a burst, stays on his feet into Michigan State territory on a gain of 16.
They call it a levels concept. So there's 3 levels. You got your deep ball, your intermediate route, and your short throw. McSorley wanted Juwan Johnson downfield. The Michigan State secondary did a good job covering down. He decided to check it down to Hamilton, who got yards after the catch.
McSorley retreating and throwing low. Chris Fry applied the pressure. Saeed Blacknall the intended receiver. And a Penn State offense that on the season is almost perfectly balanced. So far 14 pass plays, make that 15 with that one, and only 2 design runs.
It's Michigan State loading up the box. They're putting that additional defender down around the line of scrimmage. Saw them bring a pressure on the last play, something Ohio State did in the second half that helped limit Barkley's production.
Another pass. Zips one for Hamilton, who hangs on despite a big blow. First down Penn State to the 29.
Well, you can see the elements of the play action pass. Watch these guys all of a sudden suck up on the run, and it creates bigger windows in behind in the passing game. That's why offensive coordinator Joe Moorhead loves the RPO game and loves the play action pass. All the effectiveness and attention that Saquon Barkley gets, it helps open things up in the back end for Trace McSorley.
He's found Hamilton 4 times already. First down and 10 from the Michigan State 29. A little more room in the box this time. They'll still throw it. Hamilton again, but drops this one. Picking on David Dowell, 2nd and 10.
When we talked to Joe Moorhead, one of the things he discussed was he said, hey, we're not going to be able to have a 12-play methodical drive down the field. We're going to have to take shots. We're going to have big plays. Now, that's just what Michigan State forces you to do.
We talked about that big day McSorley had last year with the 4 touchdowns. All 4 were at least 34 yards. It was a full day of big plays for him against Michigan State. They split Gesicki out to the near side slot. McSorley looking in his direction and coming underneath with an incompletion intended for Johnson. Coverage from Justin Lane, 3rd down.
They had the matchup that they wanted. Gesicki was matched up on safety, Kari Willis. The good coverage by Willis forced McSorley to have to look down to a shorter throw. Now in 3rd and long, it's still that area of the field where you look at guys like Gesicki or Deshaun Hamilton, somewhere in that void in the middle of the defense. Both at the top of the screen.
McSorley on a design run, bounces off initial contact and then gets helicoptered by David Dow. A short gain, 4th down, and it would be from here a 44-yard.
Design quarterback run. You see McSorley try to cut it up inside. If not, a good job bouncing, but Gesicki not giving him much help from the outside.
Mentioned a 44-yarder and into the wind here, so they keep the offense on the field for 4th down and 8. Spartans bringing it. McSorley stands in. There's Blacknall. Fights his way for a 1st down and a touchdown. Saeed Blacknall goes for 27 yards. Not just a 1st down, but a tie-breaking score.
And all the missed tackles from the Michigan State defense. We saw that last week in their loss to Northwestern. We talked about them getting tired, getting run down a little bit. In this case, just Blacknall being able to make a play and fighting through tackles to get in the end zone.
Second of the season for the senior from New Jersey. And Penn State, which is the best first quarter team in the country, has back-to-back touchdown drives, retaking the lead in this one.
And given the fact that Michigan State brought pressure, look at the protection, look at the wall the offensive line creates for McSorley to get the ball out of his hand, but then it was the cushion. Because of the route, it allowed Blacknall the opportunity to have a little bit of a cushion. You would have thought Josh Butler would have got up on him a little bit more given the down and distance, but instead it's Blacknall then being able to fight through some tackles, getting yards after the catch for the touchdown.
You know, Michigan State last week was able to shut down Justin Jackson, really good running back for Northwestern, but they gave up 368 passing yards. Not with shots over the top, but underneath throws and missed tackles like that.
Well, one thing you saw Northwestern do a lot of is crossing routes. They call them drive and mesh, shallow cross concepts. That's just all football jargon for guys crossing the field, and it picks off defenders. Now, that wasn't necessarily the case on that particular play, but so far in this game, Penn State's utilized that throughout the course of the game in the passing routes and concepts they've utilized.
Connor Hayward looked a little bit like his daddy last time he returned it. Ironhead Hayward lowering the shoulder on the kicker, Tyler Davis. Here he comes from the goal line. Out to the 24. Penn State taking the lead in this one in a season where they breezed through the start. Blowout wins against Akron and Georgia State, like you'd expect. And a bit closer in Iowa City with a walk-off win. The touchdown for Jawan Johnson as time expired. The defense started to show up. Was #1 in the country before the Ohio State game. Part of that was shutting down Michigan in a dominant game, 42-13. The heartbreaking loss last week. They led 21-3 early. Looked like it might be a blowout. And even early in the 4th quarter led 35-20. They bring pressure out of the secondary. Lewerke trying to beat it to the sideline. And it is incomplete. Tristan Jackson couldn't get a foot down. 2nd and 10.
This was close. Just couldn't get the toe in bounds. As you could see, it clearly hit on the white.
Can't throw it much better than that.
No. And that's not easy to see as a quarterback. They brought again a pressure at the snap of the football. Penn State likes to do that. So you have to think after the snap and deal with it in a short time.
Pressure again for the Nittany Lions. Felton Davis into the vacated area for a Michigan State 1st down on already his 4th reception of the 1st quarter.
And that's how you calm a defense from pressuring you. Once you get a blitz, you hit a quick answer on the inside for a big gain. All of a sudden, it scares off the defensive coordinator sometimes.
The Michigan State staff thought they were going to have an opportunity to hit some shots downfield, hit some balls in the quick game with how frequently Penn State does pressure. And so far, so good in that regard. Brian Lewerke in the 1st quarter, 9 for 12 with more than 100 yards. Through with a quarter in East Lansing, and we've got a good one going in this top 25 matchup to open November. Penn State 14, Michigan State 7. Second quarter coming up. Aerial coverage of today's game being brought to you by our good neighbors at State Farm. State Farm is here to help life go right. On to the second quarter in East Lansing. Your first quarter stats. 1 week after Penn State managed only 283 yards total, they've got almost 200 through the quarter today. Brian Lewerke to the sideline. There's Darrell Stewart. Stopping and starting, running to the 45, and time for a game break with Sam Farber.
Joe, Wisconsin, one of 4 remaining undefeated teams, not feeling the love from the committee. They're ranked 9th, not feeling a lot of love in Indiana. Till this, they were down 10-0, and then Alex Hornibrook hit a wide-open Alec Ingold 18-yard touchdown. Now 10-7. Hoosiers leading in the first half. Joe and Brady.
They are not the first team, Wisconsin that is, to see that Indiana's an improved program. Right now, good enough to give everybody problems, just trying to finally break through against a top opponent.
You know, a couple undefeated teams pretty upset about those initial rankings from the College Football Playoff Committee. Wisconsin and Miami. I think if they both win out, I think they'll be okay.
Second down and a yard. Lewerke making a call at the line of scrimmage. Fake it to Scott. Sets up deep. In trouble and sacked. All the way back at the 45-yard line.
Well, Michigan State was able to sniff out that they were going to bring a pressure. It was going to be a post-side safety look, meaning Lewerke was saying, all right, we don't want to run against this look. Let's check to a pass, but good coverage by the Penn State secondary. Nowhere for Lewerke to go with the football. And then it's really, he's looking for L.J. Scott, who never releases. See how he's right there behind him? He never gets out into his pass route, so you don't have any outlet, and that's typically when, or what you define as a coverage sack.
Yetur Gross-Matos, beneficiary of that coverage. They go from 2nd and 1 to 3rd and 10. A toss to Scott, breaks a tackle, and then is swallowed at the line of scrimmage. Penn State all over it on a bit of a curious call on 3rd and 10. The crowd here at Spartan Stadium agrees with that.
Continually, Penn State keeps bringing pressure. They find ways of getting free rushers, whether it's at Lewerke or in this case L.J. Scott. You can see right from the get-go that play really didn't have much of a chance. L.J. Scott was fortunate just to get back to the line of scrimmage.
I mean, Brian Lewerke's 10 of 13. They've been gashing them down the seams, and they run that.
And the interesting thing is when you look at how good they threw the football last week, Michigan State coaching staff talked about not being too stubborn and wanting to run the football and going that direction, so kind of surprising.
Fair catch made by Tompkins on a punt of 34 yards. Penn State trying to bounce back from that heartbreaker last week. The offense rolling. They're up 14-7. Fox College Football is sponsored by Kia. Hurry in during Kia's Light Up the Holidays sales event. Offers end soon. And by Discover Card, the official credit card of the Big Ten Conference. Penn State has it coming out of this break. 19 of the 24 plays they've run so far have been pass plays.
After that early interception, this Penn State offense has responded nicely. And if you were concerned, like the players talked about in their players only meeting after the loss to Ohio State, about letting a team beat you twice, that has been the case. The Nittany Lions have pounced on Michigan State so far in this game.
That was their first regular season loss in more than a year in Columbus last week. First down play action. McSorley slides in the pocket. Tompkins comes back to the ball and gets upended after a gain of 8. Joe Bocci drilled him. Here to be 2nd and 2.
Michigan State is forcing Trace McSorley to throw these outside routes, the out-breaking routes. They're the most difficult to throw as a quarterback. And so far, McSorley's answering.
Look at that hit from Bocci. Huh? Joe Bocci, sophomore out of Ohio. What a season he's having. Took the red shirt off midway through last year and having a breakout year here as a sophomore. Quickly into the flats they go, and a first down to the backup tight end Jonathan Coghlin, only his 3rd reception of the season. So first down for Penn State, coached by James Franklin. His 4th season as the head man of the Nittany Lions. You know, he's never won a top 25 road game. That is here or at Vanderbilt. He's 0-9 in his career in these games. Trying to get one today over the 24th ranked Spartans. Miles Sanders in the game at running back. He swings out. McSorley steps up and gets crushed on a loss of 3. Williams and Cooper sandwich him. 2nd and 13.
That's been the biggest improvement from last year to this year for the Michigan State defense. Only 11 sacks in 2016, 19 already coming into this game, but it's the sacks and the negative plays, the tackles for loss. This defensive front has improved mightily from what they were a year ago.
Second down, 12. They dump it off. Gesicki. Dowell is waiting for him. He gets only 3, 3rd and 9.
You've talked about it. I mean, the play calling thus far has all been around the passing game. They've tried to find easy ways of getting Barkley and Gesicki the football, but eventually you're going to have to start taking more shots down the field and stretching the field if you keep putting yourself in 3rd and long scenarios.
That's something Penn State's been known for, those downfield shots. 3rd down, 9. Barkley back in the game at running back after Sanders was in there for a couple of plays. Spartans bring in the house. McSorley retreating off his back foot. It's caught, but quickly pulled down. Justin Lane with a stop on Irvin Charles, and it's 4th down.
One of the things that Saquon Barkley doesn't get enough appreciation for, his ability to protect. You talk about him running, catching the football, his kickoff returns. Look at that. The Michigan State defense, they bring the pressure, and they're able to answer. They can get off the field now, get the ball back to their offense. See if they can get back in the end zone.
First time they forced a punt today. One of the game-changing plays at Ohio State last week. Blake Gillikin had a punt blocked. It's a line drive here that Cody White takes at the 15. Nowhere to go. Charles with a stop one play after he had a reception. The Spartans down 14-7 have the ball after this break. Fox College Football is sponsored by Progressive Insurance, handing off big savings to you. Back here at Spartan Stadium. Didn't have a ton of high expectations coming into this year. Mike D'Antonio's team last year was 3-9. They got off to the 2-1 start and then started Big Ten play 4-0, beating their rival in Ann Arbor 14-10 prior to the heartbreaking loss last week in triple overtime. They've all been close, win or lose. All the conference games decided by a touchdown or less. Just made an announcement here that there's lightning in the area. They're monitoring the situation. First down and 10 for Brian Lewerke and the Michigan State offense. Over the top, Felton Davis, broken up and incomplete. Coverage from Tariq Castro Fields, a freshman from Maryland, as they went over the top for the 6'4" Davis.
Looking at the size advantage. Davis tries to get up for the football, but credit Castro Fields. Look how he turns back, tries to find the football and get a hand on it. Well played by a true freshman. Usually it takes a while for guys to get that sort of experience playing at the college football level, but it's transitioned nicely for Penn State.
Another throw for Lewerke. This one in the quick game, and it's Cody White, his second drop of the day. Although Ruwarie had a hand in on it. 3rd down.
You're seeing Penn State bring pressure, and what it's doing is it's forcing Lewerke to get the ball out of his hand quickly. So really it's the Penn State defense dictating to the Michigan State offense. Until Michigan State can hit them with some bigger plays downfield, they'll continue to keep bringing those pressures, and they'll settle for some easy completion here or there as long as it's not a big play.
3rd down and 10. A twist up front. Lewerke steps into a collapsing pocket. Throws on the move for Darrell Stewart. And a Michigan State first down. Brian Lewerke with his athleticism buys time and dumps it off for a gain of 24.
This is the thing that makes him so dangerous. It's his ability to extend plays. And he can run, but he keeps his eyes downfield so he can find Stewart.
A big third down conversion. They look to throw again. Felton Davis has room. First down into Penn State territory.
Once this offense gets rolling and Lewerke gets a feel for things, they start spreading the football around, but they'll start finding the hot hands. And typically it's Felton Davis, number 18, and number 25, Darrell Stewart.
Typically, when you think Michigan State, Penn State, traditionally, you don't think of the ball flying all over the place, but that's what it's been so far. Back to the ground here, L.J. Scott. Lowering the shoulders, spinning his way for a nice first down gain, and we go down to Bruce.
Guys, even though Brian Lewerke's from Arizona, he wasn't too worried about playing in rainy weather and cold like we got today. He said he's already had to deal with messy conditions in games they played against Minnesota and Michigan, and he pointed out, hey, I got really big hands. He offered up that his hands have been measured at 10¼ inches, which is actually bigger than 15 of the 16 quarterbacks at the NFL Combine last winter.
And the reason why that matters is obviously it helps you get a better grip on the football, so it's not as hard to throw in wet weather.
He's rolling out here and throwing one to the sideline. It is spot on, but incomplete. Tristan Jackson, the intended receiver.
It looked close. Did he have control?
The ruling on the field is an incomplete pass. Third down.
No.
And that's a great call in real time by the officials over there on the far sideline.
The fans obviously are upset, but I think as they see the rest of the replay here, and it's East Lansing, will come to that realization as well.
It's a ball that's got to be caught.
They're still waiting for Tristan Jackson to kind of step up. A sophomore is a converted high school quarterback.
The ruling on the field is an incomplete pass. Plays under further review.
They're going to take another look at this one, although, especially with the call being incomplete, don't figure there's much of a chance this one's overturned. Well, Tristan Jackson had a huge spring game, and they thought that he could be one of the lead guys entering the season. Had to replace a lot at receiver. Only 9 catches for him through the first 8 games. 7:58 left in this second quarter. This play is under review and gives us a chance for the first time today to bring in Mike Pereira. Mike, good to talk to you. How's it going?
It is great here in LA. We're watching this game with David Whitboat, the replay official, taking a look at this, but the ball's coming loose. He really never has total possession of the ball, and then of course as he goes into the ground it comes out. So really, you know, ought to be a quick confirmation that it is an incomplete pass.
As always, Mike, good to have you along.
This was a review due to the weather situation. We need to interrupt the game for a weather delay.
Where are we on that one, Mike?
How about that one? That one tricked me.
All right.
The old weather review.
It is the incomplete pass. Third down.
So Lightning in the area, and they will escort the teams off of the field. A weather delay in this one. We knew there was a chance of rain. It wasn't until the last few minutes that they started talking about big chance for the Lightning. All right, Mike, but it's not like you don't know anything about what this situation means. What are we seeing here with this Lightning?
Well, you're really looking at the fact is you now go to the guidelines in the NCAA rulebook, and it's basically 30 seconds. So if you see a flash of lightning and then you hear a clap of thunder within 30 seconds, that's the basic indicator that you want to get the teams off the field and the fans to a safe place. Now, what they will do once they can then go 30 minutes without seeing any lightning and hearing any corresponding thunder, then they'll bring the teams back on the field. So I would assume that we're looking at what possibly could be in excess of a 30-minute delay.
All right, Mike, we appreciate you filling in. We brought you on for a replay review on what we thought was a catch or not. You turned into a meteorologist for us.
Mike can do it all, though. Mike, I want to ask about an earlier call. We didn't have the opportunity to bring you in just with the pace of play, but I'm not sure if you saw the Gesicki catch that it looked like his heel had hit out of bounds, but then they ended up calling it a catch. It was called that on the field. Just not enough in your mind to overturn that call?
You know, as we have been seeing in the NFL, we're seeing plays that are getting overturned without clear and obvious evidence. And I think David Whitfield did a good job here because as I watched it, and I think you too, both of you, that, you know, I think the heel might be on the sideline, but without really a clear down the line shot, it's really hard to tell because when you look from the outside looking in, it makes it look like the foot might be inbounds, but inside looking out is a totally different look. So absent a down-the-line shot, which is very difficult to get, I think he did the right thing in staying with the call, although I think the heel was probably out of bounds. But I've always said, if I think something might be that's not enough to overturn it.
Mike, as always, appreciate it. I'm sure we'll talk to you more as the day goes on.
You got it.
All right, so officially in a weather delay here in East Lansing. And again, as he told you, every lightning strike, you've got to tack on 30 minutes to the delay. That's kind of the fundamental way to look at it. 15-mile radius. You got to have the lightning outside that before you look at moving forward.
Hunkered down for a long time. Some guys took naps, other players just stretched out. What they did do, there was about 120 Chick-fil-A sandwiches that were brought in for Penn State. For Michigan State, it was about the same amount for Potbellies. Penn State went out and bought about $500 worth of protein bars and produce just to keep energized and hydrated. They had a chance to basically lay out. These locker rooms here at Michigan State were renovated back in 2014. When I talked to the staffs here, they said, you know what? These guys were so fired up just to get out because they thought they were going to get on the field till 5:30. The loudest roar of the day was in that Penn State locker room when they found out we were getting on the field and the game was going to start about an hour early. It sounded like a bunch of wild dogs in there. One of the staffers said the energy went from about 0 to 1,000 in there. These guys are fired up. The field's a little soggy, but they really haven't had to change many of the cleats because they were already in their high grass cleats.
All right, Bruce, and interesting atmosphere now. It is pretty much empty, but the folks that are here are revved up and ready to go midway through the second quarter. And like you said, right into a big spot. 3rd down and 4 for Michigan State at the Penn State 37.
And neither team has necessarily been great on 3rd down so far today. Michigan State, though, has been better, converting 3 of 5 so far early in this game.
Brian Lewerke, 12 of 18 through the air for 159 yards. Both teams leaned heavily on the pass. It'll be interesting to see if that changes with the sloppy conditions and now extra wet ball. After 3 hours and 23 minutes, Lewerke's pressured, hits the crosser. It's the tight end, Matt Sokol, who's able to hang on, but is cut down a yard short by Marcus Allen. So 4th down and 1.
Even with the weather delay, Penn State continues to bring pressure to Brian Lewerke. He's got white paint all over him from getting hit and knocked down on midfield. Now with a 4th and 1, this is where you're going to want to rely on your running game, a big back like L.J. Scott to go ahead and get you that 1st down.
6'1", 230 pounds. You can see how soaked Lewerke is after that first hit. On 4th down and 1, here comes Scott, hit in the backfield, and he's short. Penn State comes up with a stop to establish the first bit of momentum out of this long delay.
And the man who got beat for Michigan State is number 94 right there. That's Chase Yanakakos. And you can see Cole Farmer beats him to the inside. He's able to get to L.J. Scott before he can get any momentum whatsoever. That's a huge stop for Penn State, and really gaining some of that momentum after a long delay.
Well, Farmer, who's coming off his best game at Ohio State last week, gets the ball back to Trace McSorley in this offense. Now, the Nittany Lions were held to 283 total yards against Ohio State. They already have 215 in this one. Saquon Barkley. Nowhere to go with a stop coming from Demetrius Cooper. Barkley, who was slowed down by Ohio State last week, now has 1 yard on 4 carries.
Penn State hasn't tried to run the football that much. I mean, they've only got 7 rushing attempts this far in the game. And they've really relied more heavily on the pass. The question becomes, how's that going to affect them down the road when they have to try to convert on 3rd down, because they're 1 for 4 so far on the day.
2nd and 10. McSorley back to the air. Lets it go, incomplete. Looking for Deshaun Hamilton. It was squeezed between those safeties. With the throw out in front of him, and it's 3rd down.
It's the hardest thing to do when you've got a weather delay, is all of a sudden to mentally prepare yourself to get back into that game mode after such a long delay and get your body, your feet working in unison with one another.
No gain on 1st down, then the incomplete pass, and 3rd and 10. Spartans show pressure and bring 5. McSorley all day to throw. This is where he's at his best. Lofting one for Barkley. He makes the catch, but then drops it. Had it in the breadbasket, but popped out, and it's 4th down.
Well, he wanted Deshaun Hamilton. You're going to see his eyes work to that area of the field. He's waiting on number 5 coming across. But Michigan State with great coverage as McSorley tries to create. Barkley just can't hold on to the football. Tremendous pass breakup by Brandon Randall. It's a guy who typically plays D-end and outside linebacker for Michigan State.
Always interesting to watch special teams when the conditions deteriorate like this. Blake Gillikin to kick it. Cody White, who muffed one last week, has a fair catch and a clean catch around the 30-yard line. We're back at it here in East Lansing after 3 hours and 23 minutes of delay time. Michigan State and Penn State rolls on when you come back. Big Ten standings presented by Discover, and of course be sure to tune in to the Big Ten championship game presented by Discover on December 2nd on Fox.
Nice win by Wisconsin today over Indiana, pulling away close there in the 1st quarter, but pretty dominant win. And once again, Michigan State, if they win out, they would be your Big Ten East division champion.
Of course, this one against the top 10 team this week. Ohio State due next against the Spartans. Here's a straight ahead run for Gerald Holmes, his first carry of the day. Michigan State continuing to search for somebody to take hold of this running back spot. They figured the ground game would be a strength this year, but L.J. Scott, Andre London, Gerald Holmes, none of them really take it off so far behind this young offensive line.
L.J. Scott probably has the most stability of any running back in the backfield. Had a great game versus Minnesota, but just hasn't seen the consistency. And talked earlier, a lot of fumbling problems really for this entire backfield for Michigan State.
That Minnesota game you mentioned, the only game where they've had a good ground game. Lewerke steps up and throws for White. That'll bring a penalty flag and interference on Christian Campbell.
Pass interference, defense number 1. The ball be placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
Boy, Brian Lewerke took a shot on this play right before he got the ball off. See Penn State. Yeah, that's number 30, Kevin Givens, getting to him. Givens, who's playing for the injured Ryan Buchholz, typically a defensive tackle. They move him outside sometimes to a D-end. See the tug there by Christian Campbell.
So first down at the 45. Penn State shows pressure. Holmes off the right side, and that is Givens with the tackle. 6'1", 287-pound sophomore who arrived at Penn State as a running back and a linebacker. And then put on some weight, moved the defensive end, and like you mentioned today, moved the defensive tackle, and then back out to him with the Buchholz injury. Second and 10 for Michigan State. Lewerke scrambles out of the pocket. He can run and crosses midfield on a gain of 6.
That's really the X factor for this Michigan State offense is Brian Lewerke and his ability to be able to scramble and pick up additional yards with his legs. It's something different than Michigan State's had at quarterback. If you go back through the years where it was Kirk Cousins, Connor Cook, Brian Hoyer, these guys typically are traditionally more pocket passers. Lewerke's much more willing to take off if he gets some space.
We mentioned those 3 running backs. They want one of them to take hold. Well, Lewerke is the second leading rusher on this Spartan team. They dump it out against pressure and room to run for Gerald Holmes. Stays in bounds. No, they'll say he stepped out at the 33-yard line, but plenty room for a first down.
We've seen this a number of times. He's going to sneak out, and you're going to see a cross-dog blitz. One of these 2 linebackers has to be responsible for the running back. Otherwise, he's running out in free space. We saw this early in the first quarter. L.J. Scott had a couple opportunities free releasing, getting out into space. Penn State's going to have to make an adjustment on the defensive side of the ball.
It's a Penn State team that entered the Ohio State game #1 in the country defensively, then gave up 39 to J.T. Barrett and the Buckeyes. They bring a motion man and fake it to him. Lewerke sets up. Felton Davis end zone. Diving catch. Touchdown, Michigan State.
It was all about the misdirection. You're going to watch Brian Lewerke drop back and make multiple fakes, and what that does is it gives Felton Davis time to get downfield and isolated one-on-one, and Lewerke gives him an opportunity, but this is just one heck of a catch by Felton Davis, his 8th touchdown of the season.
Starting to get a reputation as a tough catch maker. Felton Davis the third from Brian Lewerke. And the issue even at 14 with 3:54 left in this first half. Boy, wet ball and all. Felton Davis the third, able to lay out and haul in a 33-yard touchdown from Brian Lewerke, and we're tied at 14.
Sometimes you got to change up those gloves. Not the same gloves when it starts raining. Can't have the normal plastic ones. Got to get some leather. Some guys go with no gloves at all.
It's a line drive kick. Barkley chasing it. He'll have to pick it up. Couldn't have gone much better for Michigan State. And Penn State dropped back at its own 6. That is the tight end, Matt Sokol, with a special teams tackle on Barkley.
Look at you, barely see Saquon Barkley's number, but Michigan State kickoff coverage, Sokol, their starting tight end, in there. It's a lot of effort getting downfield to pin Penn State back within their 10-yard line.
That was one of the big fears for Michigan State, kicking to Saquon Barkley, who's taken back 2 for touchdowns this year.
So tough, too, when you squib kick the ball like that, or at least I'm assuming that was how it was meant to be kicked. So much more difficult to pick it up and then hold on to. That ball's wet, becomes a liability.
So Penn State from its own 7-yard line. 3 and out on its first drive following the delay. They fake it to Barkley. McSorley steps up, looking for Johnson, but he can't hang on. A perfect strike from McSorley. And Juwan Johnson couldn't pull it in against Khari Willis.
They run a lot of 7 routes or corner routes, and the reason being is some teams try to play them these 2-shell looks or 2-high looks, meaning they've got a couple of guys back there to defend the pass, and they can try to find that soft spot. McSorley, as you noted, Joe, perfectly thrown football, but Johnson couldn't come down with it.
See, Johnson has shed the gloves. He might second guess that after that. 2nd and 10. Barkley swallowed in the backfield. Raekwon Williams, who's already turned into a leader of this defensive line as a sophomore, was there with Kenny Willekes.
Willekes has really shown up for this Michigan State defense. But right now, to me, it's still both offensive lines on each team trying to get their bearings and their footing. And neither have done a good job being able to stop either defensive line and getting penetration and tackles for loss.
3rd down and 14 from the 3. Michigan State drops 7 into coverage. McSorley hits a crossing Hamilton, but it's out in front of him, and it's 4th down.
You talked about it before. It's wet out there. The ball's a little bit slick. Now Penn State's backed up, being forced to punt. A lot of pressure on those punters when they got their feet near the end line.
That one blocked a week ago. Spartans set to get good field position. Cody White stands in front of midfield. He goes with the gloves on.
If you're Michigan State, you got to go after this one.
Able to get it off. A lot of room for White, who can't make the catch. And it winds up deadening on that damp surface. Spartans will have it at the 45. Time for a game break. We say hello to Sam Farber.
Good to have you back, guys. Top 25 matchup, Stanford at Washington State, currently on Fox Business Network and Fox Sports Go. Wazoo's Luke Falk finds Renard Bell, takes a big hit, but hangs on. Cougars get the touchdown, and they lead Stanford 14-7 in the second. Back to Joe and Brady.
Bryce Love back in that game, already rushed for a touchdown so far today. He's on our Heisman watch list as we're taking a gander at another Heisman Trophy contestant, if you will, contender, Saquon Barkley today. So 2 of the top running backs in the country.
Barkley so far today, 5 carries, -3 yards. Penn State has lamed in the passing game. Michigan State has it. Brings Stewart in motion. Lewerke fakes it to him and gives it to Scott, who is shut down promptly by Tyrell Chavis.
So much going on that last play. They fake the jet sweep. They fake the direct run. They almost make it look like they're throwing back to Darrell Stewart. Chavis was not fooled at all. Once he saw L.J. Scott kind of leak out into that area where typically running backs do for screens, he was all over it.
A loss of 3, 2nd and 13. Lewerke time to scan, being chased, got rid of it to Sokol. His 2nd reception, and he's close to a 1st down.
Michigan State with plenty of time as we get within the final 2 minutes of the first half. Still with all 3 timeouts. They can take their time and be patient.
First charge, timeout of the half. Michigan State. It's a 30-second timeout.
Well, coming up at the half, stay tuned for Rob Stone, Dave Wannstedt, Robert Smith, the State Farm halftime show. Iowa State on upset alert, perhaps, in Iowa City. First play of the game was a pick 6 thrown by J.T. Barrett. Penn State fans are wondering, where was that last week? Georgia's tested his #1. Bedlam in Stillwater over on FS1.
Only the 2nd interception of the season for J.T. Barrett. He's been phenomenal since they lost to Oklahoma earlier this year. You see Bedlam going on right now. You know that place is going to be madness there in Stillwater.
A very jumbled Big 12 title picture. 3rd down and 1 for the Spartans out of this timeout.
This is that power running personnel Michigan State likes to go with. 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, and that is including their fullback, Coghlin Lucas.
Scott behind Lucas. 1st down, Michigan State.
It seems like forever ago, but opening coin toss, Michigan State won and deferred to the second half, so they've got the opportunity to try to drive down here and get points, and then get points coming back out of halftime.
Working to throw on 1st down. He's flushed out of there by Chavis. Scott makes one man miss, but can't get away from Manny Bowen. Looks like the rain has started to fall again. For an update on what it's like down there, here's Bruce.
Guys, it's turned into like a full-on downpour in the last couple of minutes. The wind has picked up since we've been back out here, and the field conditions were already pretty soggy. Now, they used 4 squeegees to try to do the best they can in a rolling sponge, but I can only imagine this is going to get worse and worse with the more wear it's got as the weather keeps deteriorating.
Other than that, it's beautiful.
Look, I played here before. This is a field that does not drain well.
Second down, 12. Penn State bringing pressure. Picked up, so the working time, and it's knocked away by Christian Campbell. Breaking on Cody White. They're making it 3rd down and 12.
Absolutely perfect timing by Christian Campbell, number 1, the senior. I'm able to get in that near hand on the football. If you'll remember, he was called for a pass interference earlier in a previous drive, so good adjustment by Campbell in timing.
First incompletion thrown by Brian Lewerke since the delay. He's a guy who grew up in Phoenix, Arizona without any rain games. Seems to be throwing it well. Pressure despite only 3 rushing. He scrambles out of there and throws it incomplete. How about this drive for Tyrell Chavis up front for Penn State?
He was the man pressuring Brian Lewerke. Lewerke a number of times now has kind of pirouetted out from the back of the pocket. Looking to his left, Shaka Tony. He's the guy with all the speed off the edge. Leads the team in sacks so far this year.
Andre Tompkins back to return this punt from Jake Hartbarger. You can hear the rain hitting our microphones down in the field. It's over Tompkins' head and into the end zone for a touchback. So with 1:09 left, Penn State has all 3 timeouts. Saquon Barkley, -3 yards on 5 carries.
Oh yeah, they've only rushed the ball 5 times. I mean, that's a little bit of a storyline, I think, in itself. A team that, you know, likes to hang their hat a little bit on the running game to set up their RPOs and play action pass, but in total in the game, Barkley's only touched the football 7 times. I would imagine as the rain continues to come down, they're going to rely more heavily on the run game. It's going to be hard to complete the football in these conditions right now.
Yeah, and since the delay, Trace McSorley is 0 for 4. It's not been because he's been way off. There have been a couple of drops. There's ugly conditions down there. In 1:09, all 3 timeouts up the 20-yard line. McSorley to the flats and dropped by Barkley. Can't possibly be any fun as an offensive player right now.
No, I mean, it takes away your ability to focus on the scheme, what your job is, and what you're trying to execute, because you have to worry about the little things. And that's just catching the football, ensuring that you have proper ball security, especially for Trace McSorley, who's, as you noted, he's thrown the ball well. Just as receivers and running backs haven't made the catch.
On 2nd down. Well protected again, into coverage and intercepted. This one's picked off by David Dowell, and Michigan State has it inside the 30. There is a flag down at the end of the play.
This is the man, David Dowell, who's going to end up getting the interception. He just broke on that corner route. We talked about how Penn State likes to throw the corner routes. You see him time and time again. You make that adjustment.
After the interception and during the return, illegal block in the back, intercepting team number 26. 10-yard penalty on the end of the run. Michigan State's ball, 1st and 10.
And that's Brandon Randall with the penalty, but 3rd interception of the season for David Dowell. Tremendous job just breaking on the football in these conditions. Usually when it's wet like that and you're on a bad field, it's the defensive backs who have the harder time with footing because they're always reactive. The wide receivers know how they're going to set up their feet for the route. Let me see right here.
Just unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get too much worse than that. And that's on their center, Connor McGovern. You can see he's saying the play was over.
So the Spartans have it at the 36. Dowell pumps and now throws back shoulder, and White's got it. Perfectly thrown by Lewerke to Cody White for a 1st down gain of 18.
And that is a Michigan State.
Let's take another look. Catch, foot down, it looks like inbounds. It was called a catch, so once again, if this went to be reviewed, I think it'd be tough to overturn. Let's see if this is a better angle.
We're going to feel it's a completed pass for a first down. The play's under further review.
That's really close.
We saw this on the very first drive from Penn State to their tight end, Gesicki. And the call on the field then was a catch. And this one, to me, looks like it would be harder to overturn than that one was. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I think this one could get overturned.
Okay.
I think I see enough toe there on the white line.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt?
No. I'm just saying if you're comparing it to the earlier one. So it is under review. Mike Pereira, how do you see this one?
You're making it tough on me because do I go with Joe Davis or do I go with Brady Quinn here? I mean, and it seems like 8 hours ago we had this same thing. I'm going to take a flyer and go with Joe Davis on this, on the last shot. You know, it is close, and they did not overturn it the first time, but on that toe there, if I'm going to make this decision, I think I'm going to make it an incomplete pass. There leaves a lot in question, but I'm going to take a Joe Davis flyer and go with incomplete.
Always a good choice, Mike.
That's just because he wants Dodgers tickets. That's what that's about. He's putting the work for next year.
With his foot out of bounds, therefore it's an incomplete pass. It'll be second down and 10 at the 36-yard line.
Mike, Dodgers tickets coming your way anytime you want them.
And when we talked to the replay officials during the break, I asked about that particular play, and what the response was, they didn't have a good view of Gesicki's, toe to heel in that particular play. There was a much more clear view, at least in review process.
So they overturn it, and it's 2nd and 10 for Michigan State. 2 timeouts in 49 seconds. An empty set with Gerald Holmes leaving the backfield. Penn State heats it up with a 5-man rush. Incomplete. Intended receiver Felton Davis.
Penn State's going to dictate or impose their will, meaning they're going to bring pressure. They're going to force you to have to deal with a free defender rushing on you as a quarterback. You've got to be able to find a quick answer and be able to, most of the time, deal with get hit and coming back the next play. Michigan State did a good job of handling the pressure in the first and then into the second quarter before the weather delay. So far, whenever Penn State's elected to bring pressure, they've struggled since they've come back.
They're down 10, they bring 4. Lewerke throws high, looking for Stewart. Because of that penalty, that unnecessary blocking penalty on the end of the punt rerun and the end of the interception return, Michigan State hardly in field goal range here. And they'll bring the punt team out.
And Michigan State's going with the win. So, to your point, had they not been penalized, maybe a little bit more of an opportunity for a field goal attempt.
Tompkins steps in front of it, and well done by Jake Hartbarger inside the 5. State Farm halftime coming up in just a moment. A lot to talk about in this first weekend of November. Ohio State in a tough one at Iowa. Georgia taking on South Carolina after it was named #1 in the initial college football playoff rankings. And Oklahoma State. Always fun when those two get together in the Bedlam rivalry. Now, these two teams actually play for a trophy, the Land-Grant Trophy. These schools were founded 10 days apart in 1855 as the nation's first 2 land-grant schools. So when Penn State joined the Big Ten in the early 90s, they hatched that tradition. Only 32 seconds. As Penn State gets ready to start this drive back into its own end. Barkley for 3. This is a unique thing in that you're kind of going to get 2 half times, at least time frames to make adjustments. The 3.5-hour delay. Now, when this clock runs out, your traditional 20 minutes.
There was the possibility they could have foregone a halftime, but coaches always like making those adjustments during halftime, be able to come out in the second half with something a little bit different.
So this top 25 matchup in East Lansing has reached halftime. Tied at 14 between Penn State and Michigan State. We get you to Los Angeles now for the State Farm halftime show. Rob Stone and the guys take it away. We got a tie game coming out of halftime as we welcome you back to Fox College Football presented by Volkswagen. Top 25 Big Ten matchup. 7th ranked Penn State. 24th ranked Michigan State locked at 14 in a game that has seen a 3-hour, 23-minute rain delay, lightning delay, and since resuming play it has not been pretty, especially on Penn State's side. Averaged 7.5 yards per play prior to the delay. The offense looked really good, but -2 on 9 plays since.
Yeah, Penn State's really had an issue with trying to catch the football. Trace McSorley has struggled to really get the ball out to his wide receivers and running backs. He's missed a couple throws. The majority of the time, though, the wide receivers have had a hard time catching the football. Saquon Barkley as well. So it was kind of sloppy for Penn State, but for Michigan State, they've been the one that have come out a little bit hotter and taken advantage of the opportunities, in particular the touchdown pass to Felton Davis.
The lone scorer since the delay. Off we go with the second half. Hayward to return it from the goal line. Connor Hayward has some room and crosses the 25-yard line. Now, since we resumed play, you mentioned not necessarily off target with a lot of the throws, but the guys having a hard time bringing them in.
Some have chosen to not wear gloves. Others have changed their gloves. You see the poor throw on the interception. Then it's been Michigan State being able to capitalize off a field position, just coming up with a big play. Now they're going to have the opportunity to take the football again and try to get a lead against the number 7 team in the country.
Remember when these teams met up last year, Michigan State had a 12-10 halftime lead. That game ended up 45-12 Penn State. Spartans hoping for a different outcome this time around. Begin the second half with an L.J. Scott run, and he's hit before he gets back to the line of scrimmage by Kevin Givens. Down to Bruce Feldman.
Guys, James Franklin not happy with the first half. He said, you know what, we're not playing with confidence. We're letting the weather affect us. We got to find a way to get the run game going. I think that'll be with the quarterback run. And he said, we got to fire out. You make a mistake, but let's just go play. On the other side, Mark D'Antonio a little happier. He likes how his quarterback's playing. The penalties bother him, but he said, you know what? We've been in this position last year. We got to be prepared for them to take shots in the second half.
Penalties, you mentioned 5 of them on Michigan State already. Lewerke out of a clean pocket. Felton Davis juggles and drops. So everybody getting involved in the sloppiness in the receiving game, and it's 3rd and 10.
Well, it's hard to play fast when you're not as confident in your footing. Obviously, you worry about being able to keep your feet. The wide receivers, it's when to cut. How do they temper down through their breaks for the defensive players? A lot of time it's tough dealing with players out in open space. Trying to make sure you're able to tackle them, get an arm on them, and bring them down.
Yeah, as a receiver in this bad footing, you know where you're going. Like you mentioned late in the first half, the DBs don't. That can be tough with a poor footing. Penn State brings heat. Lewerke tucks it. Givens chases. Able to get rid of it, but it's knocked down. Amani Oruwariye from his corner spot batted it down, and a 3-and-out for the Spartans.
Penn State continues to bring pressure. It's gotten Brian Lewerke a little bit flustered since we've gotten back. I thought he handled it better in the very beginning of the game, getting the ball out of his hand quick. Let's see. Kevin Givens chasing him. He's got that running back background. Still got that speed, even though he's put on all the additional weight to be able to play on the D-line.
DeAndre Tompkins back to return Jake Hartbarger's punt. Penn State coming after it. Pick it up. Tompkins watches it bounce, and with the wet conditions doesn't dare try and pick it up. So from the 26-yard line, Penn State will begin its first drive of the second half. Trying to get the Heisman contenders, Saquon Barkley, engaged in the game. Fox College football is sponsored by Coors Light. The key to a good offense is a refreshing defense. Climb on. And by King's Hawaiian Foods, irresistible since 1950. Joe Davis, Brady Quinn, Bruce Feldman back here in East Lansing, where it has been ugly. Saquon Barkley, pretty similar story to last year when he was banged up against Michigan State. They bottled him up to just 14 yards. 0 yards on 6 carries in this one. First drive of the second half begins with a toss to Barkley. One of the top rush defenses in the country has been stout again today. This time David Dowell and Kenny Willekes tracked him down.
Coming into today's game, Penn State ran the football about 47% of the time, roughly. So it's not surprising that they've got more pass attempts than rush attempts. As we take a look at this matchup between these two teams last year, obviously Michigan State hoping to put up a better performance in 2017, but not to the extent of 28 pass attempts versus 10 rush attempts.
They flip it outside again, trying to get Barkley in space. He's got some room, stays on his feet. Saquon Barkley finally gets loose into Michigan State territory for 32 with a key block from Deshaun Hamilton.
And it was also DeAndre Hopkins on the outside. Watch when Trace McSorley ends up getting Willekes to commit, and there you see it, number 3. That's DeAndre Hopkins getting a key block to allow Barkley to get to the sideline and turn it upfield. That's just something you don't see a lot versus this Michigan State defense, but step out. Ooh. I'm not even going to weigh in on this one after the last replay.
There have been too many close ones today. Miles Sanders in a running back. McSorley has it tipped and incomplete. That thing fluttered probably what seemed like in slow motion for Trace McSorley as it was tipped at the line of scrimmage. And Barkley, after one play of rest, comes back in. Trace McSorley, since the 3.5-hour weather delay, is 0 for 7. Steps out, and throws incomplete. And we showed the score in the second half from last year's game where Penn State erupted for 35. They did that with good weather conditions with throws downfield. You're probably not going to have that many opportunities to do that in this horrible weather today.
Oh, and not versus this defense. I think they've done a pretty good job of getting pressure on McSorley. And this is an offensive line for Penn State that's playing without their starting left tackle, Ryan Bates. He's not in. Will Fries has taken over his position. And look, we've seen them give up a number of tackles for loss and some sacks the past couple weeks.
Yeah, the season's second most negative plays in college football. Barton showing pressure. They bring only 4 with a spy for McSorley, who's nowhere close to Gesicki. And paid for it, getting hit as he let it go. 4th down.
Raequan Williams, big number 99, doesn't always get the sacks, but tell you what, he gets a lot of hits on quarterbacks, and those add up. In a wet, cold, rainy game like that, tend to sting a little bit worse.
You played in a wet game here, although it went okay for you.
Yeah, but, you know, again, was down by a number of scores, ended up having to come back, but kind of similar conditions. Cold, rainy, a lot of wind.
Cody White back to return this punt. Fair catch inside the 10. So that's where Michigan State will have it in a 14-14 game in East Lansing. The road ahead is sponsored by Coors Light. To the climb ahead and the celebrations to follow, climb on. Here's what Michigan State has coming up. Mark D'Antonio's team, as we've said, in control of its own destiny. If they win out, they would win the Big Ten East and have a spot in the championship game. Right now tied at 14, beginning this drive at their own 9-yard line. L.J. Scott crunched in the hole by Jason Cabinda, but stays on his feet and gets 6.
This is what you want to see from L.J. Scott. Yards after the carry. You're going to see a little power run here. And Cabinda gets the first shot on him, but again, when it's wet out there, it's not just tough for the offense, wide receivers catch the football and ball security. It's tough on defenders for those guys to wrap up. They can't just be able to give you a shoulder and expect to knock a guy down.
Give him 5, 2nd and 5. Back to the air. Lewerke steps into a strike for a first down, snapping a string of 7 consecutive incompletions. Finding Felton Davis, already a 7th catch.
Well, here's the route. Watch Felton Davis run this comeback route. Once he puts on the brakes, see how Christian Campbell struggles coming out of it? That's what we're talking about. That's where the defensive backs are at a disadvantage because they don't know when the wide receivers are going to stop and get back into their cut.
You're starting to see Davis and some of the receivers adjust, make some more body catches with the ball slipping through their hands. First down from the 26. Back to Davis. Campbell's on him this time. Let's check in with Greg Wolf in Los Angeles for an AT&T game break.
Joe, thanks. We'll check in on Bedlam at Stillwater, a game you can see over on FS1, Oklahoma State. And Baker Mayfield doing his thing. He finds Marquise Brown over the middle, who does the rest. 84-yard touchdown. Sooners have added another since they lead 35-24 second quarter. Joe, Brady, back to you.
Talk about putting on the Jets. See him pull away.
Big day so far for Mayfield. 4 touchdowns total accounted for.
Gerald Holmes. It'll be 3rd down and short for the Spartans. Boy, what a muddled picture at the top of the Big 12 standings. Iowa State, the surprise team. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State facing off in Bedlam today, and those top 4 teams will meet next week. It'll be Oklahoma hosting TCU. It'll be Iowa State hosting Oklahoma State.
That picture is going to look dramatically different. Iowa State's losing right now to West Virginia, 20-10 in Morgantown. Obviously, Oklahoma State will figure itself out.
Much different picture in that game than this one, with the rain falling and a 3rd down and 3 for Michigan State. The box loaded up for Penn State. They drop 7 into coverage, and underneath it's Darrell Stewart. There is a flag down in the secondary as Stewart takes it to the 45 with enough for a first down. And judging by the crowd's reaction, this could be against Michigan State.
It might have been offensive pass interference on number 81, Matt Sokol, their tight end.
Pass interference. Offense, number 81. 15-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
Good call.
Yeah, well, they're trying to set up a little route for him. That's not going to work. Here we go.
I knew who you meant, though.
Yeah, and watch as he moves downfield. Now, he is trying to clear it out. He does have a route. He was actually running a corner route. He's just running through Marcus Allen, and I always feel like those are tough calls to make because ultimately in the concept, are you upset that he's running a guy off and getting in his way? No, that's by design, but he was running a route. He did end up finishing his route running the corner route, but didn't make that much contact with the defender in that case.
Mark D'Antonio told Bruce Feldman at halftime that was his biggest concern with the first half was the high number of penalties. A big one there. And a long 3rd down. It is Davis breaking free. Felton Davis to the sideline, inside the 45. It was 3rd down and a mile, and they got a couple miles, 36 into Penn State territory.
Textbook by Felton Davis. Watch as he runs this curl route. Puts his feet in the ground, and he comes back to the football. That is why he was able to make the catch and then get yards after the catch once he split the defense.
They hurry up on the ball and off play action, floating for Davis and incomplete with a coverage from Christian Campbell. Get the sense they're starting to lean on Felton Davis, consider him a go-to guy.
And coming into the season, they were looking for who would be that go-to guy. What they like to do is go with the hot hand. when you talk to Dave Warner, one of the things he talks about is they like to spread the football around, but once one of these guys gets hot, whether it's Felton Davis, Darrell Stewart, even Cody White at times, they'll keep coming back to them and feeding those guys.
9 catches, 153 yards, and a well-earned break for Davis. On second down, Lewerke looks to throw again, pulls it in, steps out of trouble for once, but then pulled down from behind. Sacked by Shane Simmons, a freshman defensive end, and it's 3rd down and long.
That's his first sack of the year. Lewerke wanted to try to get Sokol, didn't have a clear window, and kept trying to find someone downfield, but good coverage by the Penn State secondary.
And a nice job of Simmons not quitting on the play. Once again, Michigan State looking at a 3rd and long.
Here's the hard part. Felton Davis isn't on the field.
Here comes pressure. Throwing the wheel. It's Rison making the kicks. The true freshman Hunter Rison targeted for the first time today and provides 27 yards.
It's just a switch route, and he's going to get a little bit of a rub, but watch the ball placement. You see Rison falls at the beginning. Look at this. It doesn't get any better than that in these conditions against the wind. Unbelievable.
Play action. Look out. Got rid of it. There's Rison again. He's doing just fine with this wet ball. This reception for 18 yards. And Andre's son, Hunter Rison, makes it 1st and goal.
Flashes of Andre Rison. As Hunter Rison steps up, you can see Lewerke took a shot on that last play. It was Marcus Allen blitzing off the edge. The focus and concentration. What about this Michigan State wide receiver group? We saw Felton Davis earlier. Now Hunter Rison gets in on the mix.
And now they bring Davis back in the game with a power set. Couple of tight ends, a fullback, and Gerald Holmes at tailback. Timeout, Michigan State.
It looked like there was some confusion with the call in the huddle.
14-14 game. Spartans have it 1st down and goal when you come back. Fox College Football is sponsored by Dr. Pepper, the one fans crave. Back in East Lansing, the Spartans on the move with some help from Hunter Rison. Back-to-back long receptions. The true freshman from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and as we talked about, the son of the former Spartan All-American, former Pro Bowler, Andre Rison. Talking with Dave Warner, the offensive coordinator, yesterday, and he said that Hunter has some of his dad's very best qualities already.
Yeah, one thing in particular, fierce competitors. Not the biggest, not the fastest, but you put him out there in a competitive scenario, he's going to win the majority of the time.
Drive started back at the Michigan State 9-yard line. They've marched it all the way down inside the 5 behind Brian Lewerke, going 5 for 6. L.J. Scott back in at running back. And behind Colin Lucas, he is in for the Michigan State touchdown. The Spartans go 91 yards to take the lead.
That's huge momentum for Michigan State, and in particular, L.J. Scott. Let's take a look at the fullback, Colin Lucas. He's going to lead up right there on Koa Farmer. Let's take a look to see if L.J. Scott got in. Yeah. Just verifying with this look.
I mentioned the confidence for L.J. Scott and helping to build that here around the goal line. He's had 7 fumbles over the last 17 games, including 2 right down at the goal line.
Yeah, one versus Notre Dame, really going in for a score, got stripped. And that was where the game all of a sudden started to go haywire for Michigan State. See Marcus Allen there at the very end. And you talk about a player for Penn State who's able to knock that football out. Marcus Allen's the guy.
He's forced 2 fumbles this year, and he had the hat right on the ball there. What do you think?
I'm already done weighing in on these after earlier. No, I mean, at this point, again, it's called a touchdown. It's really close. I don't know that there's indisputable evidence that it's not, even though his elbow's down right there, so it'd be where the ball is.
And again, important to remember that your wrist in that situation doesn't make you down. It's an extension of your hand.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
So it does stand. It's until that elbow goes down. You continue to get that forward progress. Michigan State has its first lead of the day. An L.J. Scott run from 3 yards.
If you're Michigan State, you've really got to feel good about the rhythm you've gotten back into. It carried over from last week, even in a loss versus Northwestern. In the passing game in particular, Brian Lewerke has played extremely well.
One of the biggest surprises in college football this year, these Michigan State Spartans still in control of their own destiny in the Big Ten East. And the folks that have stuck around enjoying what they're seeing, trying to knock off the 7th-ranked Nittany Lions. Brian Lewerke had thrown 7 consecutive incompletions with these horrible conditions, but on that drive goes 5 for 6, and the Spartans have taken the lead for the first time.
Over 300 yards so far today. Only halfway through the 3rd quarter, so.
Dangerous Saquon Barkley will get his hands on this one. You always hold your breath if you're on the other side when Saquon's got it. But Michigan State's all over it. Let's go in the huddle, brought to you by SoFi, the preferred financial partner of the Big Ten Conference. What does Penn State have to do to get things going offensively?
I'll tell you right now, in that huddle near the sideline, Joe Moorhead saying, look, we've got to have some sort of a semblance of balance, okay? We haven't run the football effectively. So far, McSorley's had 9 straight incompletions. They need to all of a sudden get something going. Just get a positive start here, see if you can build some momentum. They haven't been good on 3rd down all game long. They're 1 for 7. If you look at their 2 touchdown drives, they didn't convert a 3rd down the entire time. It was production on 1st and 2nd down or a 4th down conversion for a touchdown.
It's Miles Sanders at running back instead of Barkley to open the drive. McSorley back to throw. Now he'll take off and get drilled. The ball comes out. There is no whistle. This is now marked down. Finally, the whistle comes as Joe Bocci was running that ball into the end zone. That is as late of a whistle as you're ever going to see. And it finally came from the near side linesman at the line of scrimmage.
Coming out, 2nd down.
You're going to see number 98, Demetrius Cooper. And clearly he was down before this ball comes out. As you can see, his left elbow hits down. At that point, the play is dead. Another key there, they're trying to get Trace McSorley involved in the running game because they've had no production today, but Michigan State's ready for it.
39 rushing yards for Penn State. Steps up, over the middle. It's caught for a 1st down by Barkley.
How many running backs do you see releasing that far downfield? So he's going to free release out of the backfield. And it's really McSorley stepping up and buying time, so he's able to find a window to Saquon Barkley. Because typically, once you get flushed up in the pocket like that, you're scrambling, you're getting outside, you're not going to have an opportunity to get rid of the football most times.
1st down and 10. Now to the ground with Barkley as a whole and keeps the legs driving for a gain of 6 or 7. Keeps those strong legs driving. This guy's a physical specimen. Squats 600 pounds, legendary calves. They say this guy's got just huge legs. Look at those things.
I said it before the game. We had some players out here in t-shirt and shorts running around. Up here in the booth, you could tell which one was Saquon Barkley. He's that much of an Adonis.
2nd down and 3. McSorley throwing the out. Yeah, a nice tackle by Josiah Scott on Deshaun Hamilton. They spot him a yard short, and it's 3rd and 1.
Josiah Scott is a true freshman, but they say he's the leader of that group of cornerbacks. He plays with so much savvy for such a young player.
Enrolled early, starter from day 1. Out of Hamilton, Ohio. 3rd down and 1, Penn State from the 49.
This ball's got to be going to Barkley.
6 blockers on 6 in the box. It's McSorley with room off the left side. A block in front from Juwan Johnson to usher him inside the 30. So on 3rd and 1, they keep it with McSorley for a gain of 13.
Watch everyone flow this way with Barkley, and it's going to create a seam on the backside for Trace McSorley. You can see Gesicki coming back around to help create an edge on linebacker Chris Fry. Nice play design by offensive coordinator Joe Moorhead.
Yeah, with that Michigan State defense thinking what you said before the play, that it's got to go to Barkley on 3rd and short. It does on 1st and 10, and he barely gets a yard. Not much room in there. Chris Fry sticking his nose in, along with Naquan Jones. 2nd down 9. Penn State offense, number 2 in the Big Ten, averaging 40 points per game. They're having a hard time with the weather conditions in this one. Down 21-14 late in the 3rd. Play action, looking one-on-one. Great coverage downfield. McSorley throws it away.
Look at the matchup at the bottom of your screen. That's 6'4", 225-pound Juwan Johnson. McSorley was looking for him, but Justin Lane is with him step for step. When we talked at the beginning of the game, Justin Lane's a converted wide receiver to cornerback. He's 6'3", 180 pounds. He matches up very favorably versus Johnson.
Guy that stood out to the Penn State staff on film, and Justin Lane. 3rd down 9.
Right there, no one's on Gesicki.
They throw it underneath for Hamilton. He's got blocks. Crossing the field into open space. Now Barkley with a block. And a 1st down for Penn State on a gain of 21.
And they set up almost an underneath little screen for Hamilton. And that's the thing right now. We've just got to find, they've got to find a way to get yards after the catch. Easy completions for McSorley. And continue the momentum downfield. Look at Barkley, by the way. You know, for a guy who's known nationally, he's played the best football of anyone in the country. In a game where he hasn't performed that well, he's still so selfless. Out there lead blocking for his teammates, doing everything.
1st down from the 15. Barkley over the left side gets a few. And Willikis in there with Joe Bocci. 2nd and 7. They dump it off. Gesicki accelerates ahead for 4. So 3rd down and 3 for Penn State. So hit the tight end Gesicki. Trying to get McSorley back into rhythm with some underneath throws. A manageable 3rd down for the Nittany Lions.
You know it's going to be tight coverage. Look at the advantage in the mismatches. Gesicki at 6'6". He's the guy that you like to be able to throw the football up to and give him an opportunity to make a play on it. Deshaun Hamilton's a guy that's always good coming back to the football in the corner routes.
He's in the slot to the top. Throwing the fade. Juwan Johnson knocked away at the last moment by Lane. That is quite a matchup. The 6'4" Johnson against the 6'3" Lane, who stuck his hand in at the last moment.
And he needed every bit of the length, and you can see Juwan Johnson try to rip by Lane, but Justin Lane so to get a hand in on the football at the last second, and really good recovery by Lane. Just not a favorable matchup, something that Penn State would like to go to. Extremely effective this year, scoring touchdowns in the red zone. Not there.
So they bring Tyler Davis on. It was 30 of 32 over his first 2 seasons. He is 7 of 14 this year. This one right there. And Penn State has its first points of the second half. Time for a game break. We go back to Los Angeles with Greg Wolf.
Joe, thanks. We'll check in on the Pac-12 Stanford and Washington State. You can see it on Fox Business Network and Fox Sports Go. Luke Falk earlier in the game became the Pac-12's all-time leading passer. Here on 4th and inches, picked off by Bobby Okereke, 52-yard pick six. Stanford on top 21-17. By the way, guys, it started snowing in the Palouse. Joe, Brady, back to you.
I'll trade you. Right? I mean, when it gets to be this cold, you'd almost prefer it to get 10 degrees colder or so it's not as sloppy.
Yeah, as a player, you hate to be sitting there in between drives on the sidelines, wet, and it's cold out. Match that with a little bit of wind. You'd much rather have it be snowing.
And the wind that was blowing left to right early on in the game, I think has shifted some and is more right to left now. Still Tyler Davis will be kicking with that wind to his back. Whenever wind is left, it's died down. Connor Hayward has had a couple of nice returns today. Drops this one and will take a knee. Well, this one finishes at 7:30 Eastern on Fox. We head down the road to Ann Arbor. Minnesota and Michigan battling for the Little Brown Jug. The 96th time they face off with that. There are a lot of trophy games, especially in the Big Ten, but that is the oldest.
One of the more coveted ones in the Big Ten. Quarterback Brandon Peters, freshman of Michigan. He'll get his first collegiate start this week. Just seen the struggles of that Michigan offense. Trying to go to the freshman, maybe get things jump-started.
Brian Lewerke back out there. Very sharp on the last drive, going 5 for 6 to put the Spartans in front. On the 25-yard line, they go off play action and have a wide-open White, but it's underthrown and incomplete. White had broken behind the defense, but Tariq Castro-Fields recovered on a badly underthrown ball, second down.
Lewerke missed a number of deep balls last week versus Northwestern. He overthrew them this time. Never really got his feet set. Didn't get his body momentum going into the throw. One of the reasons for the underthrown football.
Pressure coming out of the secondary. Picked up into the flats they go with a flag down. Scott has 4 or 5. Tackled by Manny Bowen. But a flag in the backfield on a day where Michigan State has been heavily penalized.
This could be a hands to the face. Like it might have been on Luke Campbell, their right tackle.
Personal foul. Face mask. Offense number 62. Penalized half the distance to the goal line. Second down.
You're right.
You can see it was right off the ball. Watch his right hand. And you can see it gets up into that face mask and grabs on it, pulls it down. That's the difference between hands to the face and obviously a face mask on an offensive player. It's the manner in which he used it.
7th penalty on Michigan State, and a lot of them have been with this very inexperienced offensive line. They've got 2 freshmen. 2 guys that are in their first full seasons as starters. Only 1 veteran in the center, Brian Allen. Really across the board, this Spartan team young. On 2nd and long, pressure is picked up momentarily. Lewerke runs out of time and goes down. Parker Cothran finished him off after he got a couple. And it'll be 3rd down and about 20.
When Penn State brings pressure, typically they flush the quarterback out or they get to the quarterback. And part of that equation is because their secondary does such a good job in coverage. You're sacrificing an extra guy in coverage in order to put pressure on the quarterback. They've been effective so far with it now in 3rd and 20. You'd imagine it'd be somewhat of a conservative call given where they are, but Belton Davis has come up with a number of big plays for them so far today.
Yeah, on the touchdown drive, they converted 3rd and 19 and 3rd and 11. Lewerke will take off. He needs the 35. He hurdles his way into the arms of Harm. Brandon Smith brings him down. It's 4th and 5.
He was looking for Felton Davis, but again, once again, good coverage by the Penn State secondary. Lewerke merely just adding yards onto this punt. That's a big stop for Penn State. You kind of felt like Michigan State was starting to garner some of the momentum in this game, coming out from the break, then coming out from halftime.
Again, if you just happen to be joining us, this game was delayed by lightning for 3 hours and 23 minutes. High snap, pulled down. Hartbarger with a nice job to corral that and hit a line drive that Tompkins watches bounce inside the 30. Penn State back on offense, and before they run their first play, we check in again with Bruce Feldman.
Guys, for all the remarkable feats that we see from Saquon Barkley, a couple of days ago I had asked him, so what's your favorite highlight that you've had this season? You know, there's hurdling guys and stopping and starting. He goes, you know, it's probably the block against Iowa. You know, the one that enabled them to throw the game-winning touchdown on the last play. It's like, but you don't show up in the stat sheet for that. He goes, yeah, but that made the difference to us, helped us win the game. It helped Trace make the throw, and that's all that matters. We won that game.
Walk-off win, 21-19, as Juwan Johnson had the game-winning touchdown from McSorley. This is a very selfless leader. As we hear from that story from Bruce. Drive begins at the 30. McSorley steps into a clean pocket. Heaves one deep with blown coverage. It is a Penn State touchdown. DeAndre Tompkins, a 70-yard home run to put Penn State in front.
He's not a thrower, he's a launcher. You're going to see basically a double post concept, and Josiah Scott ends up falling down at the top of this route. And Tompkins is all alone by himself, just has to focus on catching the football, not hitting his head on the goalpost. That's what this offense has really been. A bunch of huge plays, and some of the Michigan State defense, they haven't really given up a bunch of big plays this year. They've been one of the better defenses in the country in that regard.
But facing one of the best offenses in the country at producing them. A 70-yarder from McSorley to Tompkins. That brings us third quarter to a close. What does the fourth quarter have in store from East Lansing? 24-21, Penn State in front. Back on Fox College Football, presented by Volkswagen. Back and forth we go in this second half. Trace McSorley, now 65 total touchdowns, tying Darrell Clark's school record with that 70-yarder to DeAndre Tompkins. Penn State in front 24-21, getting ready to start this fourth quarter. Who would have thought on a day like this, both quarterbacks would be over 300 yards, and neither team would have even 70 yards on the ground. Here comes Hayward, Michigan State to start around the 25. Take a look at our Ford Unstoppable Player of the Day. Felton Davis, 9 catches, 153 yards.
Yeah, we take a look at some of his highlights from today, even in wet and cold conditions. Another good stop. Not the Penn State defense, not even a wet football, the rain. Still to make the diving catches and plays to help Michigan State get on top. Penn State since taken back the lead, but Davis is going to be a guy that I think if Sparty wants to come back in this one, he's going to be a big part of that comeback.
And at the end of that kickoff,
illegal block below the waist. Kicking team number 4. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
it's an interesting call on the kicking team, an illegal block.
You can see right there at the end.
All right, but it's a 15-yard penalty that moves it to the 41, and the Spartans trying to answer back, have good field position. Instead of L.J. Scott, it's Gerald Holmes. And it's Lewerke looking to throw. Scans the field, gets through his progression, and throws incomplete. Wanted Matt Siebert, backup tight end, but was well short, 2nd and 10.
Past 2 throws now from Lewerke. You saw the underthrown football that was almost intercepted on the last drive. That one right there. I've seen that so far from him really today. For the most part, he's done a pretty good job of giving his tight ends and wide receivers opportunities to catch the football.
Prior to coming to Michigan State, the last time that he had played in a wet game was as a third grader in Seattle. His family moved to Phoenix when he was 12. Shakatoni got a great jump off of the edge, but was picked up. And White, it's cracked at the 45 and a gain of 4. Crowd seeing that great jump that Tony got, wondering why there wasn't a flag. They're down 6 for Michigan State.
That's why he leads their team in sacks, and that's exactly what he's in the game for, to provide that speed off of the edge. It was close. Redshirt freshman of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He's the guy that really pops on film when you watch him. He's got long arms, a lot of speed.
Signed him as a linebacker. Put his hand in the ground and letting him wreak havoc at defensive end. 4-man rush on third down. Lewerke throwing a slant for Davis, who goes behind him and makes the catch. Not an easy ball to grab, even in nice conditions. He's got his 10th catch of the day to keep the drive alive.
And just a simple slant route, but it's Davis's ability to twist his body and torque it back to corral the football for the conversion. What a catch.
And now career high 10 catches for 164. Makes it 1st and 10 of the Penn State 41.
He's the only upperclassman of this wide receiver group, and he's really stepped up and been the leader that Michigan State hoped he would be this season.
Yeah, more than doubling his production from his first 2 years. Lewerke off play action rolls and throws. That is caught for a 1st down. Spreading the wealth now. That's Matt Dotson, the seldom used tight end, for a dozen.
Only his 2nd catch of the season, the true freshman. And you're going to see him kind of lead block and then release out. Just looked like they were trying to set something up on like a jet sweep, but nice little wrinkle in design for the Spartans.
From the 29. Sticking through the air. Incomplete over Risen's head. 2nd and 10.
Penn State brings such a variety of coverages and pressures. It seems like every other play, someone different is blitzing, or bringing those dogs from the linebacker position. They give you a different look as far as coverage. That time they actually rolled the safety. Marcus Allen ended up playing cover 2 to one side. Ended up getting the corner playing the deep half on the other side. A lot of things it's tough to see as a quarterback post-snap.
High risk, high reward. They're top 10 in takeaways and sacks. They bring pressure again. Lewerke hits a crossing White, who's got 5, and a nice tackle in the open field by Amani Uruwarie. There's the defensive coordinator, Brent Pry. What you hope when you're bringing some of that exotic pressure is that it doesn't break you over the top. And so far today, there have not been too many blown coverages.
On 3rd down, I would imagine once again they'll bring some sort of pressure. Again, their secondary is held up on the back end in coverage. Go-to guy from Michigan State, none other than Felton Davis.
He split to the top on 3rd and 4th. Lewerke stands in. Now escapes. Throwing for Davis. He's got it. 1st down, Michigan State.
Did he catch it? Was he able to get his arms underneath between the ground and the football? There's no doubt about that. And Penn State actually rolled the coverage to that side, meaning they had a cornerback and a safety responsible for Davis. But once Lewerke left the pocket, Davis was able to find the soft spot in that coverage.
For his 11th catch of the day. 1st down and 10 inside the 20. They pumped short and floated into coverage. Incomplete. Threw it up for Cody White, who is double covered by Apke and Uruwarie. 2nd and 10.
Yetur Gross-Matos ended up getting pressure on Lewerke. That was a dangerous throw. Talked a bit about the defense and that risk, reward, and pressure. Well, sometimes that happens with double moves. What they ran with Cody White was a little stop and go, and the risk is, as a quarterback, that ball comes out before the wide receiver really gets going again. So you're just kind of hoping and praying the defense falls for it. The wide receiver ends up getting open.
White coming in motion. They flip it to him. He gets a block. And gets 5 or 6. Gerald Holmes was the man leading the way for him. Spotted at the 14-yard line. And 3rd down coming up for Michigan State, where a field goal would tie it. That's technically a pass there, and that is 8 consecutive throws from this Michigan State offense.
Gotta love those jet sweep passes. And there's really no downside to it, because when you flip it forward, if he doesn't catch it, it's not like a fumble. It's just an incompletion.
And the flip side of that is it pads your stats.
Didn't get much easier.
On 3rd down, Lewerke drops and throws incomplete. Miscommunication with Darrell Stewart. And the field goal team will come out trying to tie it with 11 minutes left. Lewerke hot, talking with Stewart afterwards.
And watch him as he drops back. See how he looks to the right? It was Kevin Givens who dropped underneath. Lewerke got back around. You know, he wants to put that on Darrell Stewart, but I don't know that he had a great vantage point looking back over to that side of the field. I think he might just be frustrated in general because he couldn't find that throw to Davis.
So it's Matt Coghlin from 32 yards to try and tie the game. And he does. Whispering by that upright that he hit twice in the overtime loss last week. With 10:56 to go in his top 25 matchup in East Lansing. Penn State and Michigan State locked at 24. Fox College Football is sponsored by State Farm, here to help life go right. And by Ford Commercial Vehicles, built Ford tough. A game that started at noon is now under the lights and tied at 24. Early on in the 4th quarter, these two Big Ten East teams, Michigan State, if it wins out, wins the East and will play for a Big Ten championship. Penn State needs some help. They're getting some right now over in Iowa City. The Hawkeyes landed on the Buckeyes, believe it or not. Taquan Barkley will take an knee. Penn State to begin at the 25-yard line. And Bruce, we saw Penn State in the initial college football playoff rankings sitting at 7. But the big thing is that there are 4 one-loss teams ahead of them.
That's right, guys. If they can somehow pull this game off, this is a huge upset that's obviously going on in Iowa City. They need, to me, the biggest thing they would need, to obviously beyond keep winning in themselves, is for Ohio State to get knocked out of there. If Ohio State gets one more loss after today, I think Penn State has a better shot than a lot of people might think. Just because if they can run the table, they're going to probably play a really good Wisconsin team. And I think there's just, you know, Pac-12 issues. I don't think we're going to have a Pac-12 team. And we'll see what happens with Brady's alma mater, Notre Dame.
That's going to be the biggest thing. Penn State needs to win the Big Ten. If they don't, I don't know how favorably their schedule stacks up to Notre Dame's.
McSorley will dump it off. Here's Gesicki hurtling across the 30, showing off some of that old volleyball athleticism for a nice 1st down pickup. And we check in with Greg for a game break.
Joe, thanks. Elsewhere in the Big Ten, number 6, Ohio State and Iowa. This game was tied at 17. Nathan Stanley, 2-yard touchdown to Drake Kulik. Hawkeyes have put up 28 straight points. They lead 45-17, 4th quarter. Joe, Brady, back to you.
Wow. Nate Stanley, 5 touchdown passes on the day.
2nd and short, Barkley with a 1st down run. Now, Penn State, if they win today and Ohio State loses that one, they will be big Michigan State fans next week when the Spartans go down to Columbus. Because remember, Penn State still needs Ohio State to lose twice.
Yeah, because they own the tiebreaker. The tiebreaker's head-to-head play. But again, you got to take care of business here today. You're in a dogfight on the road with 10 minutes left in the 4th quarter.
And again, the Spartans, they control things. If they're able to win this one, they'd be sitting in the driver's seat going into Columbus next week. A lot at stake as this one rolls on. Inside of 10 minutes in a tie game, and it's McSorley rolling and throwing for Hamilton. Lets the blocks develop and cuts against the grain for 6. Deshaun Hamilton, hours and hours ago, started the scoring with a touchdown reception. That's his 7th catch today.
It's just a glorified screen. Had a 3 wide receiver set. Hamilton was the inside wide receiver. Juwan Johnson was on the outside, kind of helping lead and blocking. It was only a one-man route.
Saquon Barkley's gotten loose once today. Takes the fake here. And a diving catch from Juwan Johnson for a first down. Had some issues holding on to the football, but he's got that, his first of the day.
Watch as Cooper drops out. So he drops more vertical. He doesn't get enough width. If he drops a little bit wider, you can get in the passing lane and affect that throw. But look at the hands, the extension by Johnson to make the catch and get the first down.
Really worked on those hands in the offseason. Was mostly a special teams player his first season. Only 2 catches last year. Having a breakout year for the Nittany Lions here in 2017. First down from midfield. McSorley pumps one way, steps up and heaves it. It's picked off. Second of the day by David Dow. And the Spartans have it.
David Dow steps up once again with a big-time interception. The ball was just a little bit thrown behind. That allowed Dow to get his hands in on it, but watch, they try to set up a bubble screen, and then it's downfield to Blacknall. But you see Dow's with him step for step, and once he gets to his hip, little tug, but the ball is underthrown. McSorley has to put that deep over the top. He typically has in the past. Big-time momentum change for Michigan State.
Penn State, one of the top teams in the country in turnover margin, trailing 3-0 in this game today. Michigan State coming in, that had not been a strength for them. Well, this team's totally reversing course from what's been the story for the first 2 months this year.
McSorley, 5 interceptions entering today's game, 3 already.
Lewerke looking to respond quickly and runs his way for a first down. One of the things that Penn State really struggled with was sudden change against Ohio State. When things went poorly, very quickly it got worse. James Franklin pointed to that as the biggest issue in the loss last week.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan State didn't try to pick up their tempo a little bit. Just, again, going back to last week when they were behind versus Northwestern, they were able to tie it up and go into overtime. They find more production out of these 3 wide receiver sets like we see them in now. I know they want to be a power football running team, but with Lewerke, I don't think you need to be.
First down at 10. Lewerke throws, and what a one-handed catch by Cody White. A highlight reel play for the freshman for 17.
What can you say about this true freshman class, the way they've stepped up? Look at the extension, the one hands, and then just pushes the football by as he continues down the field. And there's been plays to be made. Michigan State wide receivers have come up with it.
First down from the 39, and against pressure, they beat it with another true freshman, but a drop off of the hands of Risen with 2 really nice catches on a touchdown drive in the 3rd quarter.
But the good thing to me on that play, if you're a Michigan State fan, is Brian Lewerke's seeing it. He's seeing some of the pressures from Penn State better now, and he's finding those quick answers like we saw him do at the very beginning of this game. They've changed up some of their looks, now bringing what's called a blitz zone 2. Meaning they're playing a 2-deep zone in behind the guys pressuring, and they're actually dropping out a defensive lineman to play the curl zone area, which is typically the spot you see a cornerback.
Brian Lewerke's school record 445 yards last week. Said he gained a ton of confidence and has carried it into this one. Pressure's picked up over the middle and incomplete. And the flag flies in late. Davis had gotten a step on Uruwarie and draws the flag for a first down.
It's really the tugging at the top of the route that I think drew the flag. You see the officials convening about it.
Pass interference, defense number 21, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And Felton Davis has been unstoppable today.
Take a look as Uruwarie ends up just kind of tugging there on his hip, and really interferes with his ability to make the extension we've seen Felton Davis make throughout the game today as we head into tonight.
Yeah,
that's how long it's been.
It was dark out when we got here for a different reason. First down from the 24. It's all worth it, though. Tied at 24 and a heck of a ball game. Lewerke looking downfield, but running out of time. Now a man comes open and drops it. It was the tight end, Sokol. It would have been first and goal. Instead, 2nd and 10.
And it was a perfect play design. You had the play action pass, so a little bit of misdirection, but look how he sells to the outside. He comes back inside to the soft spot of the zone coverage and just can't hang on.
A lot of times in these wet conditions, you're taught to body catch it if you're not confident with the tackness on those gloves, but that didn't work there.
Well, it might help if you don't have grass all in your helmet.
Yeah, right. Should get rid of that. 2nd and 10. Lewerke throwing down the sideline. Davis can't get it. It's brought in by Oruwariye. What an interception by Amani Oruwariye. We've had so many scenarios today along the sideline. Was he inbounds on this one? No question.
And he maintains control as he goes down to the ground to complete the process of the catch. Possession, feet down in bounds, and surviving the ground. Oruwariye does exactly that. My question is, was it not a false start? There was something before the snap of the football. It looked like either someone was offsides or someone jumped.
Well, the officials didn't pick up on it. And you talk about a sudden flip in things, a drop inside the 5-yard line from Matt Sokol, and then one play later, an interception as the football with the Nittany Lions with 7.5 left. Barkley has room and has 4 on first down, 2nd and 6. Let's go back to what you're talking about.
Yeah, take a look at L.J. Scott on the left side of the offensive line. See them stem? I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's a false start. I don't know how they missed that. And it would have played, obviously, to the benefit of Michigan State based on how the play turned out.
Rarely do you beg to have a flag thrown on you, but I think they're wishing that it had been. 2nd and 6, inside 7. McSorley gets hit and swallowed up. He lost 2. Surrounded by green shirts. Willikis was there. Dowell was there. And Recon Williams as well. 3rd down and 8 for the Nittany Lions.
They brought Dowell off the edge, and that kind of created a wall almost, and there was just nowhere for McSorley to go.
Penn State today has struggled on 3rd down. 3rd down and 8.
Guy who stepped up has been Deshaun Hamilton. You wonder if Barker will get involved.
McSorley throws underneath. Gesicki's wide open and climbs the ladder for a first down and then some.
Just a complete drop in coverage. Watch as he releases out. And it's because Justin Lane, once he pressures off the edge, someone's got to be responsible for Gesicki. Look at him as he goes, almost like he's going for a spike.
The guy loves to jump. Good surge from the offensive line on a first down run of 5 for Barkley. You mentioned Gesicki spiking a volleyball. He's a star volleyball player. In fact, his first recruiting letters from Penn State were from the men's volleyball staff. He was a star basketball player. Dunked when he was in junior high. A big-time athleticism from a guy that is widely considered the top NFL draft prospect at tight end. 2nd and 5 for Penn State. McSorley well protected. That one is caught by Johnson. Running the corner out, crossing the 40, and a flag down in the backfield on this 20-yard gain.
And that's going to be on Kenny Willikis. It might be a roughing the passer. Looked like that hit was a little bit late.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense number 48, low hit on the quarterback. Penalized 15 yards from the end of the run. Automatic first down.
We're going to see Kenny Willikis coming at the very end. Clearly hits McSorley low, which as a quarterback, when you're in the pocket, you get that protection. You're considered defenseless in that case. The throw and catch, and the thing that's tough to see here is Barkley released out into the flat, that really pulled up Justin Lane to create that window for Johnson in the back end for the big completion on the corner route. Clearly, Mark D'Antonio not upset. The penalties, as you talked about earlier, still plaguing them here late in the fourth quarter.
8th of the day on this young Spartans team. First down from the 38. McSorley rolling to his right. Being chased, lets it go. Dangerously and incomplete through the hands of Andrew Dowell. His brother David has intercepted McSorley twice today.
That was about this close to being an interception. The Dowell brothers really got a beat on Trace McSorley today.
Twin brothers out of Ohio. 5:01 left to go, tied at 24. I think some more people have filled in here as this game's gotten really good into the fourth quarter. People that had left during the delay. McSorley pressured and has to throw it away. There is nobody in the area, and you figure a flag's going to come out.
I don't think he broke the tackle box. Yeah,
there it is. This is intentional grounding.
Intentional grounding. Offense number 9. Ball got past the line of scrimmage, but the quarterback was still in the pocket. Ball's placed at the spot of the pass. Lots it down. 3rd down.
So right about there is the tackle box, kind of on an angle almost, but as he turns, I mean, he really doesn't almost get outside the guard.
Great usage of your telestrator, Brady.
I'm trying to use as many of the instruments there as we can. And you can tell Khari Willis knew exactly what it was.
3rd down and 18. A lot of big swings in this game. Michigan State trying to give an exotic look here. They wind up dropping 8 into coverage. McSorley throwing sideline, and it's a reception for Gesicki, getting him close to a 1st down. They got 15, and it's 4th and 3. So
at this point, I mean, it's against the wind. Now, the wind's not playing too much of a factor at this point, but it's like they're going to go for it.
With 4.5 left.
Cannot let Trace McSorley out of the pocket.
Play clock inside 10. On 4th down and 3. He throws the slant and it's incomplete. Tompkins couldn't hang on, and Penn State turns it over on downs. 4:05 left to go. They had what they wanted. On the slant with an open Tompkins, who has a 70-yard touchdown today, but couldn't hang on to this one. And so Michigan State in a tie game will have it with their sophomore quarterback Brian Lewerke when you come back. Fox College Football is sponsored by Coors Light. The key to a good offense is a refreshing defense. Climb on. It's been a weird day, but a good day in East Lansing. The game broken up by 3.5-hour weather delay is tied at 24. And Brian Lewerke, fresh off his record-setting performance last week, another good day today, and another chance to lead a big drive here in the 4th. Lewerke on time and throws low. Did Davis pluck that thing off the ground? You bet he did. For a gain of 9, his 12th catch of the day.
They brought a pressure off of him, which gave him the cushion. And it's just his ability to be able to get his hands underneath the football. And look at the hand-eye coordination, the ability to stop his body. That 6'3" frame, make the catch.
Now, Brian Lewerke, throwing for those 445 yards last week, was at his most impressive, tying the game with a last-minute drive. They hand it off to Scott. He's got a 1st down. Up to the 45 as the clock winds inside of 3.5.
If you're Michigan State, you're still going to want to run the football. A little over 3 minutes left, a couple timeouts. Keep the whole playbook in. There's no need to rush. You'd like to milk this clock down as low as possible, and if you have to kick a game-winning field goal, so be it. But you definitely don't want to leave Trace McSorley in that big play offense for Penn State anytime at the end of this game.
Both teams coming off heartbreaking losses a week ago. One of them is about to suffer another. Penn State bringing heat. Lewerke in trouble, steps away from one man and gets back to the line of scrimmage. Jason Kabinda fanned on him on his first blow by, but wound up rallying to get him in at 2nd and 10.
Lewerke's just got to avoid the mistake that he made that really ended the game last week versus Northwestern. Didn't feel the pressure on the backside of the pocket. The ball got knocked out of his hand. He picked it up and tried to make too much of a bad play and ended up making a bad play worse. Ended up losing them the game last week. At this point, take a positive game. If it's not there, don't hold on to that football too long.
2:20 to go. Lewerke steps up, has room to run if he wants to. Instead of the sideline, it's Risen. Looks like he had control before falling out of bounds. It'll depend on the spot. It appears just short.
And I thought where Risen was, he had enough for it. I mean, it almost looked like his butt was right there on the marker. And that ball was dead down the middle.
They're quickly back in the ball, and now it's a moot point. First down run for L.J. Scott. 2:03. Clock stopping for the chains to move. Michigan State right now can really work the entire playbook, although today that's mostly been passing the ball. Talk about Brian Lewerke's temperament. Always the same. Never too up, never too down. Down in the first year as a full-time starter, trying to lead the Spartans to a win over number 7. On 1st and 10, he works play action. And throws dangerously with a breakup from Uruwarie, who already has 1 interception in this 4th quarter.
So this is what Penn State's doing on defense right now. It's kind of tough to see as a quarterback. So he's going to drop and play this deep half. He's going to play this deep half, and they're going to bring pressure off the edge, and he's going to drop out, almost playing a cornerback. So notice the rotation of the snap of the football. And now Lewerke's got to get back and say, all right, it's different than what I thought it was. A lot of times it's tough as a quarterback after the snap to be able to go through your progressions and figure out where you're supposed to go with the football.
2nd and 10, they rush only 3 this time. Still able to flush him out. There's Darrell Stewart. 3rd down coming up. 1:25 and counting.
You're going to take as much time off the clock as you need to. Could potentially, even if you want to give it a little more thought, take a timeout, but I think they're going to. And the guy who stepped up big for them time and time again has been Felton Davis. Figure out you make some sort of way of getting him the football.
Inside of a minute now. Matt Coghlin's career long is 46. They need to get to the 29 for that. And they said that they're comfortable around 50.
First charge.
Here it would be 53. Timeout with 53 seconds left. And a tie game with 53 seconds left. 3rd down and 4 coming up for Michigan State. It'd be a 54-yarder from here. They need to get to the 29 to get to within his career-long range. That's Matt Coghlin, the redshirt freshman kicker. They're right now focused on trying to keep this drive moving. Penn State bringing the house. Picked up, giving Lewerke time. It's knocked out of there. Tariq Castro Fields pulled it out of the arms of Cody White, and it's 4th down.
And it might be a late hit again on Brian Lewerke.
Flag is laying in the backfield.
Excuse me, the last one was on McSorley, but this one looks like
personal foul.
Wow.
Roughing the passer. Defense number 3. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Drive extended on a critical penalty on Penn State.
Here he is. There's Apke.
It wasn't
it's way late. Yeah, it's on Marcus Allen on number 2. Misidentification, but clearly you could see it was way late and low.
On a captain and a 4-year starter. Go 49 seconds, and that moves the ball to the Penn State 22. Now well within Matt Coughlin's range. Still, though, 2 timeouts to get it closer.
And nothing's a given, no matter how close you are with the conditions of the field, a little bit of wind.
Nothing's a given either with the fumbling problems L.J. Scott has had. He's a running back. On first down and 10, and he's got it. Both arms over the ball for a moment until he probes into space and works to the 19. And a timeout taken. We'll be back in a moment. Great finish coming up. It was a Penn State timeout, so the Nittany Lions have one left. Tie game, 42 seconds remaining, and Michigan State has it at the Penn State 19. The 10th play of this drive is a run to L.J. Scott. They start ripping away at that ball as Scott is down at the 16. This time letting the clock run inside 30 seconds. This is very likely coming down to the leg of the freshman Matt Coghlin.
I would imagine they're going to wait until 3 seconds left. Typically, if you're looking to just have the final play be a kick, and if James Franklin is going to use a timeout now, he'll probably use that final timeout to ice the kicker.
The guy they call McLovin.
We'll be McLovin him tonight if he makes this kick.
He doesn't look one bit phased by this moment. Native of Cincinnati, Ohio, who won the job during fall camp, and they've really liked him. Now 8 of 12 on this season, with 2 of his misses hitting the upright at Northwestern last week. He's got a chance here to keep Michigan State in the driver's seat in the Big Ten East race. Who would have thought at this point? I mean, Mark D'Antonio talked to us yesterday about just simply wanting to be in games that matter in November, about wanting to have a chance to play for a championship. And if Coghlin can poke this one through, Michigan State will set up what nobody thought was going to be a key game for the Spartans in Columbus a couple of months ago. It certainly would be if he could hit this. Out of the hold of Lewerke. From 34 for the win after a timeout. Last time the Spartans had a game-winning field goal 2 years ago in Columbus. Michael Geiger from 41 yards. This one a little bit closer. This is one of the nation's youngest teams, and here's a perfect representation of that, with a freshman going out to attempt a game winner.
Mark D'Antonio has to love the way his team has responded after losses so far this year. After a loss to Notre Dame, got a tough win versus Iowa at home. The loss to Northwestern on the road last week, now in a position to get a big-time upset.
From 34. For the win. Michigan State's improbable march continues to Columbus. And James Franklin livid about something. Matt Coghlin, the freshman, the hero for the Spartans.
And what can you say about this Michigan State team? The long weather delay, the opportunity going up against one of the top teams in the country in Penn State. And how about the play of their quarterback, Brian Lewerke? 2 weeks in a row now, over 400 yards passing, helping to carry this team. And Felton Davis coming up with big play time and time again to help put their team in the position to pull off the upset.
It is the 8th win over the last 5 years by Mark D'Antonio's team over the top 10. There are only a few programs in the country with more: Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State.
And on the flip side, James Franklin still yet to get a win on the road versus a ranked opponent.
0-10 in his career now between Vanderbilt and Penn State. And the folks that came back in here after the 3-hour and 23-minute delay are rewarded with a memory and a win over number 7 Penn State. Dickey's performance of the game is the game-winning field goal from the guy they call McLovin. Matt Coghlin from 34 yards right down Broadway.
Penn State did all they can to test the nerves of Coghlin. Tried to ice him, give him a little extra time to think about it, but the freshman wasn't scared. He comes through in the clutch.
Freshman wasn't scared, but the Big Ten might be now. The Spartan team that is 7-2 overall and improbably 5-1 in the Big Ten with one of the nation's youngest teams, a lot like Penn State last year, seemingly a year ahead of schedule. Saquon Barkley on the other side, 14 carries, only 63 yards. For the second week in a row, relatively slowed down. And Penn State drops a second in a row after a 7-0 start.
As far as the Heisman is concerned, I'm sure that's the last thing in his mind. After the past 2 weeks, you'd have to think he's dropped in the minds of some of the voters out there as you look at other candidates like Baker Mayfield down there in Oklahoma having himself a day.
In the middle of that celebration, Bruce Feldman has Mark D'Antonio.
Guys, a wild day here. Long, long day. What's going through your mind when that field goal is going through the upright?
7 wins. You know, I knew Matt had it in him. You know, we talked all week long about attacking through. You just need to attack through that goal post. So he had it, and he was very, very confident beforehand.
Your quarterback, Arizona kid, looked really comfortable out here in these bad conditions. What stood out and impressed you the most about Brian Lewerke today?
You know, he's just calm. He can make a mistake and come back from a mistake. He can, you know, audible on 2nd and 1 and come back and you know, and clear things up and just keep playing. And I think you got to be able to play through problems, you know, and that's life a little bit.
I don't know if you noticed this, but Ohio State went down today in Iowa. What does this mean for the Big Ten race with what you guys got left in November?
Well, it gets a little interesting. Spartans like to make it interesting in November, so, hey, we're hanging around. We just got to win them one at a time.
Thanks, Coach.
And then the next one up for Mark D'Antonio and the Spartans is in Columbus next weekend against Ohio State. After that, it'll be Maryland and Rutgers. 2 games the Spartans will be heavily favored in. So perhaps 1 game to decide if Michigan State can make an improbable run to the Big Ten championship game. 27-24 the final in this one. Rob Stone in Los Angeles for more post-game coverage right after these messages.